Hello, everyone. My word, it has been much too long, but we are back. I finally am over COVID, and we are back on our new schedule. For those of you who are paying attention, this is 1 hour later than our previous Sunday time. We're going to move it just 1 hour later so I can be lazy and sleep in a little bit more. But we'll be streaming now, which is 11 for me, but is whatever time it is for you. We'll continue streaming on Fridays as well for me. So my stream schedule is I'm going to stream on Friday and Sunday. You'll be able to look at the scheduled stream to see what time it is. And Tristan, in a week and a half, is going to start streaming on Mondays, I believe, Tristan said. So you can look forward to having 3 streams a day, 3 streams a week like normal again soon. Tristan shouted through the door a different day of the week. I think Tuesday, did Tristan say? Tuesdays. All right. Tuesdays, not Mondays. Sorry. It was Monday before, but Tuesday will be Tuesday. All right. So we have all this. Yes, I am glad to be feeling better. The first week of class is not really when I wanted to get COVID, but what can you do? Math Pesto has been a member for 15 months. Welcome, or thank you so much, Math Pesto. Great to see you in stream. Let's get you a watermelon dance as celebration. Boop-boop-a-doo, woo! Ba-doop-a-doo, woohoo! Ba-doop-a-doo, woohoo! Ba-doop-a-doo, ba-doo, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Aha! Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Math Pesto. For those of you who are not familiar with standard watermelon notation, Math Pesto invented a pencil puzzle genre for the Stream 200 celebration puzzles that we used watermelon notation for, which was quite enjoyable. There were seeds and everything. Codec was there for that one, I believe. So we are still making it through Stream 200 puzzles because, again, there were 2 streams canceled or rescheduled or whatever because I had COVID, and then on Friday there was a drag show, so I went to that instead because it was Decora Pride this weekend. So happy Pride to all who celebrate. So did that. But anyway, things are hopefully now back to normal. All right, whatever it normal means around here exactly. All right, so we are commencing with this Playmaker puzzle, which I see doesn't have a bet tree, so I'm just going to make up this bet tree. Yeah, I had COVID for a week, and it was not super fun. So that's why I didn't stream last Sunday. Although I think last Sunday Tallcat and Tristan streamed. Maybe they streamed Saturday. Yeah, what is normal? Who knows? But yeah, Tristan and I both got to have COVID. It was fun. Tristan's a couple days behind me, so I think he's only like now starting to feel a little bit more back to normal. But yeah, I got it like right at the start of the semester, so I got to give video lectures again. It was very 2020, but everything better is now. Yes, thank you. Yes. Hey, Ace of Spades, welcome. Yeah, poor Tristan. All right, so let us read the rules to Playmaker's puzzle here. So again, these are still the last puzzle. So there's 3 more puzzles of the Stream 200 celebration puzzles. So we have each of the gray, so we have normal Sudoku rules. We have each of the gray lines from the number 200 must obey exactly one of the three following properties uniquely, and the solver needs to deduce which property belongs to which line. So I have three properties, and the three lines are one of each of the following. A gray line must be able to be divided into contiguous groups, each of which either sums to 20 or has a product of 20. Interesting. So like a 20-line variation. Consider each segment that lies entirely within a box one distinct group. Then the sum of the products of each group must be 200. Okay. So it would say the sum of these times the sum of these was 200, or whatever the appropriate version of that was. So one it's the sum of the products, and one it's the product of the sums. Got it. Hey, MicroStudy. MicroStudy has been doing a marathon to complete all of my puzzles, because I have approximately every 15 minutes for the past several days been getting an email from LMD saying that MicroStudy has solved another one of my puzzles. So that has been very fun to see. Hopefully MicroStudy is enjoying himself as he does that. Okay, so we've got that. We've got a renban here. So this is a string of consecutive digits, which is very interesting with the white dots, because the white dots here on either side of this mean that these two digits are consecutive with this digit, but these form a string of 4 consecutive digits. This green line is a whisper line. Wow, Isabella's up to a year. Wow, it feels like just recently that Isabella became a regular around here, but welcome, Isabella. Let us get you a fan dance. Boop-boop-a-doo, woohoo! Boop-boop-a-doo, woohoo! Boop-boop-a-doo, woohoo! Boop-boop-a-doo, woohoo! Thank you, Isabella. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so, or these each double arrows, digits along a line that has 2 circles, must have the same sum as the total of the 2 digits in the circle. The blue and red coloring are there to distinguish. Got it. Okay. So these are double arrows. Okay, so I thought this was going to be a parity bridge when I saw the coloring, but it is not a parity bridge. It is whatchamacallit. It is, wow, my brain today. It's a double arrow. So the sum of the 2 circles is the sum of the digits along. Oh, and I did not mention this black dot, which means that there is a ratio of 2 to 1 between these two. Okay, so aside from what's going on with these twos, these are standard variations that you'll see a lot if you hang out around here. So the first thing I'm going to notice, and I don't know if this is at all the thing that I need to notice, is that if I... Oh, that looks terrible. I always forget that gray looks terrible. If I make this cell yellow, these are the 2 digits that are consecutive with yellow. Well, there needs to be a digit that's consecutive with yellow on this renban. It's certainly not in that box, so it's certainly in one of these. So one of these green digits is here, and it's possible both of them. So we've got that. Not all dots are given. It would be surprising if all dots were given, but it seems not all dots are given. We have a point from Nikolai that we can snipe, which is that you can't put a 5 on a green line because the digits along the green line need to differ by at least 5, and there aren't any Sudoku numbers that differ by at least 5 from 5. And so in column 8, we know there's a 5 down here. It would be very surprising, but okay, if there were no 5 on this length 4 renban, because the only way a length 4 renban can avoid having a 5 is for it to be 6, 7, 8, 9, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think it's probably likely that there's a 5 in one of these 2 cells, but I do not know for sure if that is the case yet. Feels to me like this is where I'm supposed to start, but maybe not. Let's see. Are any of these double arrows interesting? Let's see. I don't think so intrinsically. The fact that there's 2 strings of white dots in this row is kind of interesting. I guess it tells me that the sum of these 3 digits is divisible by 3, which seems like it could maybe be useful for this one of these 200 things is a whatever sort of thing. But I don't yet have a fantastic intuition on the sum of product of sums business. I probably could do some math and figure out, because like, for example, one of these is saying the product of the sums. And so the sum here is a minimum of 15. And the sum here is a minimum of 6. 6 times 15 is, I guess, 105. Is that right? 6 times 15. No, it's 90. I think it's 90. So that's sort of well under the maximum for one of these. Is this too big? Because that would be a minimum of 10 there and a minimum of 21 here. Okay, so this can't be the product of sums one, because the minimum sum here is 21 and the minimum sum here is 10, and the product of those would be 210. That's too big. So this is either the broken into sums or products of 21, or this is the sum of the products. Let's see. Isn't the minimum product here also too big? What's the minimum product? The minimum product here is 6 factorial. 6 factorial is too big. So this one can't be the sum of products either, because the product of 6 numbers is already too big. Because the minimum sum of products is already 720 for 6 digits. That's 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So this one, actually, this has to be the 20-ish line variant thing. I don't know how to mark that, but this one definitely has to be the one where we break it into sums or products of 20 in some capacity. And so this is sums or products of 20. I don't know how to mark that again. It's the first one, whatever. The first one is the first one. I'm going to put a 1 up in the corner here to say that of the line types, this is the first line type in the description. Yeah, Carl is noting that when I'm multiplying 2 numbers to get 200, there's not that many ways to do it. But unfortunately, there are enough ways to do it that I'm not sure it immediately tells us anything. But Carl, I believe, is correct that it's either 8 times 25 or 10 times 20. And we know things like, oh, if this was 8, it would be 134 as a sum. But I don't know that that is... that might break the Ren bond for some reason, but it probably doesn't, as far as I am able to detect. Let's see. Okay, so the so sum of products and product of sums. So we got a 5 here. We got a 5 down there. So I guess I know things like... Oh, I was going to say I know things like whether something like 4 or 6 is on this line, but maybe I don't even immediately know that. Let's see. So let's think about what this dot can be. So this dot can't be 4, 5, or 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, or 9. And the reason why I'm noting that is because whatever high-lowity this is, I'm going to give it the high-lowity of purple. It forces these to also be the high-lowity of purple. Because I just can't get out of the high-lowity of purple because of this. And so, in fact, actually, these 4 cells, these are all of the purple high-lowity cells in the box. This is also purple. And then these 2 can be whatever the other high-lowity is. Let's make it Simon's sweater, say. No, we'll go with the flesh. No, that doesn't work either super well. Let's see. I'm trying to find a color that contrasts and doesn't look like other colors. Okay, the thing for me to do is for me to change this yellow over here to not be yellow and be orange instead. So anyway, these are either all high or all low, and it's either all the highs or all the lows is the point that I was here trying to make inside this box. So I don't quite know what to do with that yet, but it is noteworthy, I suppose. And there are 3 purple digits on this line. Is there any way that there could ever be 3 high digits on a line? So if there's 3 high digits on a line, they would sum to at least 21. And I don't think I can have 3 digits that sum to at least 21 on a line. So I think purple is low, actually. And the reason for that is because I know that this is either line type 2 or line type 3. If I multiply 3 high digits, I'm already way too big. 6 times 7 times 8. And then I have to multiply it by 2 more things. That's too big. Someone in chat will tell me what 6 times 7 times 8 times 2 is, but I'm sure it's too big. Especially considering that I then have to also include another thing. And you couldn't even do 6 times 7 times 8 because this one's definitely not 1 or 9 if I think about it. So actually, if this were high, there'd actually be a 9 in there as well. So no way that purple is high. Do we agree that there's no way purple is high because it breaks both of these types? I can't multiply 3 purple digits, and if I add 3 purple digits, the sum is too high to be part of a product, and if I multiply them, the product is too high to be part of a sum. So I think we know that this is low. We'll see if chat agrees with me, but that means that purple is actually blue, and it means that yellow is actually orange. Oh, it's trippy. There's the imposter yellow slash whatever. See, Selena says 6 plus 7 plus 9 plus 1 plus 2 is barely enough. Let's see, 6 plus 7 plus 9 is 22. That's 25. Oh, I think Selena's right. I think there's a possibility that that purple is high and that the sum is actually 25 up here. I think, yeah, I was thinking that 20 was the highest possible sum, but actually 25 is the highest sum. So if purple is high, these would have to sum to exactly 25, and these would have to sum to exactly 8. Oh, but if purple is high, that doesn't work, because purple is high. This can't be, there's no high digits involved in an 8 sum. So Selena is right, I missed a case, but the case doesn't work because one of the 3 digits involved in a sum to 8 would have to be at least 6. So I think the conclusion was correct, but my logic was wrong. But I think we're there now. So these are high, and so these are from 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, and in fact, they're just from 7, 8, 9, actually. So these are from 1, 2, 3, 4, and unfortunately, I don't think I can do any better than saying that these are from 1, 2, 3, 4. But that means the lowest digit that can be involved in these digits is now significantly higher, because I can't put a 1, 2, or a 3 in here. So these are all at least 4. These are at least 4. Again, the middle one's certainly not 9. Oh, and since this one can't be 4 in the center either, because that would break these. So this is at least 5. So we've got that. Doesn't have to be high. Could be 5. Oh, I just used the color orange twice. because I had marked this as an important cell. I'm going to make it purple just to remind myself. The reason I marked this is because I know that these two cells, one of them at least shows up over there. I just used orange for high by reflex. Okay, so we've got that now. And so I can't fit a 1 on this line anymore, which feels like a fairly minor observation, all things told. So now I guess maybe we ask ourselves if it's really possible that there's no 5 on this line, because I think if there's no 5 on this line, now this renbon is definitely high. And if this renbon is definitely high, then that's going to, I think, break the world, because these two alone will be at least they'd be at least 5, 7. So if they were at least 5, 7, and then we multiplied them by so if they're at least 5, 7, that means these already sum to at least 12 plus 3 more would be at least a sum of 18. That's actually not that bad. The thing that really sort of made me think that this is not going to work is that this digit has to be at least 6. And so that means that I'm not going to be able to do this without a very tight sum, but I don't quite know that I can make this work. Okay, I'm looking at Carl's point now that in box 3, let's see, Carl believes the minimum product now is too large because these minimum product 1, 3, and so this would be, is it 1, 3, 4? Is that the minimum product? Because I can't make these 1, 2, 3. That's not possible. So 1, 3, 4. Could I do 1, 2, 3? I can't do 1, 2, 3 either. Or sorry, 1, 2, 4. Could I do 1, 2, 4? Yes. If this is a 1, 2, 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 4 is the minimum product of these. So that's 8. And so 1, 2, 4 times 5 times 6 is 8 times 30. Oh, that's already 240 just in the box. Okay, so so this is in fact 3. That's not relevant, Vbov, because if I'm multiplying these, then I'm summing the products. But this is saying that I cannot have the, wait. I think what Selena said is backwards, right? Because I'm saying I can't multiply these 5. If I multiply these 5, it's too big. So I'm summing these 5, which means that this is actually box 2. No, sorry, that does mean it's type 3. No, Selena's completely right. This is the third one, and that's the second one. So these are actually in order. Because this one's a sum of products situation. This is a product of sums situation. Okay. So I agree with Carl, and that was a good observation, that once we placed all the lows, that meant there are 2 digits that are at least 5 involved in the hypothetical product. That doesn't really work. Okay. I don't think we know that, Peter. So because when we were maximizing it, we were proving that the maximum or minimum was too big or small, and so what we're actually doing now is we're now actually trying to make these 5 digits sum to something, but I don't think there's much pressure on that. There's certainly some pressure on these 3, because these 3 can't possibly sum to more than 10, I believe. What's the minimum sum of these 5 cells, I guess, is worth asking, because these two certainly sum to at least 11. Plus 1, 2, 4. So actually the minimum sum is 19. So the sum is either 20 or 25, with only a little bit of wiggle room if it's 20 and a lot of wiggle room if it's 25. And so these three sum to either 10 or to 8. And similarly, there's wiggle room in either direction. Okay, and then this is the sum of products box. Interestingly enough. Okay, so interesting. Okay, so now I know I'm multiplying these. And so Carl's point is there's no way on earth I'm getting a 9 involved in one of these. Because if I get a 9 involved in one of these, then these would be, say, 9 times 7 is already 63. Times 6 at minimum is way too big. Because basically what Carl is doing is to say, well, the minimum product of these is 6. And so these two have to multiply to, at absolute most, 200 divided by 6. And 200 divided by 6 is 34. So I certainly can't have a 9 involved. If this was 8 times 6, that's still 48. That's too big. If this is 7 times 5, that's 35. That's still too big. And so that means that we have here a number that actually, I think, has to be a 5 if you look at it. And so I think we get our first digit because this is now only able to be a 4 or a 6, and this is only able to be a 4, 5, or a 6. And so, in fact, the only way that works is for these to be a 4, 6 pair with a 5 in the middle. And we get to have our digit dance. Ba-boop-ba-doo. Wah. Ba-doop-ba-doo. Wah. Ba-doop-ba-doop-ba-doop-ba-doop-ba-doop-ba-doop-ba-doop. Woohoo! Thank you, Zach. Thank you. So we've got that. That is going to give us a 5 over down here. So that's also going to tell us that these aren't 4. So that's a 2, and these are a 1, 3 pair, and that's a 4, which all seems good. I'm going to just delete these and try and remember that it's 1, 2, 3 in order. These are 7, 8, and 9. Notably, that tells me that because I have to break this, remember, into sums or products of 20, 7, 8, and 9, none of those are part of a product to 20. So this is definitely part of a sum to 20 for whatever that is worth. This is only a 1 or a 3. It is of note. Someone is pointing out, Sayori is pointing out that I have a 4 on a whisper line, so I should probably fill in that the thing it goes next to is a 9. That is a good observation. So, yep, we've got all of that. All right, we have made progress. We have made some progress. It took a bit, but we've got there. Okay, so these multiply to be 24. So let's see. If I don't include a 1 here, then the minimum product of these is 2, 2, 3, 7. Yeah, I guess the point is if I use a 7, 8, or 9, I'm way too big, right? Because the product of these is already 24. And so if I use a 7, 8, or 9 up here, then I'm still at minimum 1, 2, 7, which would be 14. 14 times 24 is way too big. So these have to be a 1, 2, 3 triple now, is the point, I believe. And so I think these digits, therefore, are a 7, 8, or a 9. That one's not a 9 for 2 different reasons. I'll let you choose which one you would like, either because there's a 9 looking at it or because I can't fit 9 and 5 on a length 4 thing. It means there's definitely a 6 in these cells down here. For whatever that's worth. Okay, so I know the exact product now. So the product is 6 times 24. 6 times 24, how short am I of 200 with 6 times 24? Because that tells me the product of these three. 6 times 24 is 144. So I need the product of these to be 56. So 56 doesn't sound divisible by 6 to me. So that's not the 6. So that's the 6. So I think I can get rid of all of this coloring now. So 56 is, though, divisible by 7. So I absolutely have to have a 7 involved. And then it's 7 times 8, right? And so 7 times 8. And so it could be a 1 and an 8, or it could be a 2 and a 4. So there's a 7 and then either a 1 and an 8 or a 2 and a 4, just for the record of that. Okay, there's a 5 down here. Great. Don't yet see what this is buying me, but we'll continue. So these, by the way, I should fill in. These are 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's maybe think about this one. So this one is... So these two cells need to sum to one of two things, right? Because currently the sum of these is 8. And so these two either need to sum to 12 or need to sum to 17. Wait, they can't sum to 17. Wait, 25 is not possible, is it? Did I do this math wrong? Because we decided that these 5 cells either summed to 12 or to 20 or 25. Those are the two options. But I don't think 25 is possible because it would require these to be an 8-9 pair, and the 9 is there. So these actually need to sum to 12, which just means they're a 5-7 pair, which means these are a 6-8 pair, which means those aren't 8 and that is an 8, which means that's a 7 to make the Renbon do Renbon things. So we have that. And so these are, again, either 1-8 or 2-4. I don't know which yet. Okay, so this does sum to 20. And so therefore, this needs to sum to 10 down here, which is unfortunately the less restricted option for down here in box 6. But these three sum to 10. Okay, noted. Let's see. Okay. I was trying to do something like if this is a 7, this is a 1, and maybe there's no way to make this sum work, but I don't think that's true. Let's see. Okay, Selena's telling me that if I pushed hard enough, I can rule out 3, but that I really don't want to. I will believe that. Let's see. Okay, so these digits I'm noticing are not 5, 7, 8, or 9, for what it's worth. So these digits are fairly small. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 6. Worth noting when I'm thinking about how exactly all of this works out. Let's see. Can I rule out the possibility that one of these two is 7 at least? Because if these were 7, it would have to be a 7 together with a 1, 2. I mean, I know there's a 1, 2 in here, but there being a 1, 2 in there isn't necessarily a problem. Okay. I was just trying to place like a 7 in this row or something like that, but I don't think I can do that for free. I'm trying to decide something like, can I rule out that this is an 8-9 pair? I don't think that I can. There is a 9 in this column somewhere, which is potentially interesting. Let's see. So Garion says you always need a 2 or a 4, because if you don't use 2 and 4, then you run into issues. And so if you use neither 2 nor 4, then what are you left with? You're left with 1, 3, 5 at minimum, except that 1, 3, 5 doesn't add to 10, and 1, 3, 6 is not possible. So you'd be a minimum of 1, 3, 7, which is too many. So there's always a 2 or a 4 here to, as Playmaker says, give you an even number somehow. Because as Selena puts it, 3 odd numbers is an issue. And in particular, the key point here is that 8 is not a valid even number to include in your 10 sum, because it would have to go with 2 1s. So you need an even that's not 8. And so therefore, if you make this a 2, 4, 6, you can't have an even. You've ruled out all the non-8 evens. So these aren't 2, 4, they are 1, 8, which then makes this a 7 and a 1, which now means these are either 2, 5 or 3, 4. Not 8. Why am I making them sum to... No. Why am I making them sum to 7? They're supposed to sum to 9. So these are summing to 9, and they're not 1, 8, 2, 7, or 3, 6. So they're 4, 5. There we go. I did it right the second time. And so therefore, these are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These are 2, 3. Oh, sorry. 2, 3, and 9 only. 2, 3, and 9, not 2, 3, 8, 9. So in particular, this black dot doesn't have a 2 on it because the 2 is up here. So therefore, this is only 4, 8, or 3, 6. Oh, it doesn't have a 3 on it either. So this is a 4, 8. It's the only thing it can be, because 2 and 3 in this box are up here. And so the only thing left that you could possibly make is 4, 8. So that's not an 8. That's not a 4. Sorry, I think I hit a random button. That's not a 4. So this quad is known. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so, and these aren't 1 or 7, so these aren't 5 or 6. So we're suddenly getting all sorts of pencil marks all over the place. I'm just going to mark this white dot now. Actually, I'm not going to trust that Mark knows how to mark this white dot. I'm going to do it myself. So there's no 1 on it. There's no 5 or 6 on it. There's no 7 on it. So this is either 8, 9, or some version of 2, 3, 4. I don't think I have any real reason to suspect anything other than, like, that's not an 8, so that's not a 9, that's not a 4. Doesn't really tell me anything about that one. Over there. So yeah, I don't think that was immediately fruitful. It's kind of interesting if this works out to be a 1, but I doubt it's impossible for it to be a 1. The fact that this is connected to 2 double arrows probably puts some upward pressure on this, and I'm noticing it can't be 5, 6, 7, or 8. So this cell, if I just mark it, it's not 5, 6, 7, or 8. And I'm doubting that this can be 1, 2, 3, or 4. And so if this can't be 1, 2, 3, or 4, then this would have to be a 9. Can I prove that if this is 4, it's too small? Because I think in order to do that, I'm going to have to do maxing across both of these. That seems too annoying for me to do now when I see Selena's point that I know there's a 5 and a 6 here, which is going to tell me an awful lot. So this certainly is... Oh, no, it could be a product. It could be a product, Selena. That's the problem, because 5 times 4 is a 5 times 4 would work. But maybe it's true that this could never be an 8, because if it's an 8, it's a sum, which would make these sum to 19. That doesn't work. So I don't know if it's a product or a sum, because 5 times 4 is 20. But I do know that this isn't an 8, because if this is an 8, it would force this to be a sum, and that would mean this is a 1 and it's not. So this is always a 4, and that's an 8, which does a little bit of work over here, only a little bit, though. Okay, so if this is a sum, we're at 15. Oh, that's not going to work, actually. If you now look at this, if I imagine that this is a sum, I've summed to 15 and I need 5 more. Well, that's going to have to be that's going to have to be less than 5, which is then going to break as soon as I get to here because it's too many. So in fact, the first step along the line is these two. Okay, that's completely invisible. I was trying to avoid catch-up, but we'll do that. Okay, now 6 conveniently does not divide 20, so I know that this is going to be a sum. Now 6 plus 9 is 15. That's already too big because this next digit I know is large. So these two in particular, I know sum to a minimum of 13. That's a minimum of 15. That's enough to tell me that this isn't a 6, because that would sum to a minimum of 21. And that actually places the 6 in the row somehow. Just regular old playmaker magic, I suppose. So we know that, let's see, is it possible this sum continues for another cell? So the minimum sum of these would be 8, 7 is 15, 16, feels to me like I could still do something like a 4 and a 1 or whatever, and then have this be a product or something like that. So I think that's still all okay-ish. At least as best as I can see it. Now these are either a 2-3 pair or an 8-9 pair. And I guess I know that one of these is the 8 for the row. So I have a Zackwing on 8s, which is telling me that one of these with the 5 is also an 8, which seems good to notice. Like it might be relevant some later. Oh, okay. People have a good point, which is that actually Garion and Martin together have noted that actually these cells can't be 6, 7, 8, or 9. So these are 1, 2, 3, or 5. And that's not a 5. So actually, I know that this sum stretches at least as far as this. And so these 4 digits could never possibly sum to 20. They're too small. The maximum sum they could possibly have is 14. And so the starting bit here has to be a product. Now, I don't know what product. Could just be 4 or 5. I know there's going to be a 5 involved in the product. Could be 1, 4, 5. I guess I know there's never a 2 involved. Because if I give myself a 2, I need another 2 in the product, and I can't do that. So I know that these aren't 2 at least. Oh, and I know they're not 3 either, because 3 doesn't even divide that. You'd think that would have been the first thing I saw, was that 3 doesn't divide 20, but somehow inexplicably that was not a thing that I saw. Okay, so these are from 1, 4, 5 over here. I agree there's not a 4-cell product, so I actually now know that this makes it at least to here. Okay, and Todd, I agree, says it needs a 4, so that at least rules 4 out of this cell, because the 4 needs to go in the 20 product. Oh, in fact, the 4 needs to go in the 20 product, and it can only actually go there. So it's either a 2-cell product or a 3-cell product. I don't know which. But this down here now is a sum that is at least this many cells. So that might give me that this has to be a 7, I bet. Because if I make this a 9, then my minimum sum here would be 6, 2 is 8, and 7 is 15. Sorry, I'm saying if I make this a 9, let me actually make it a 9. If I make this 6, 2, and 9, that is a 17. I'd need these to be a 1, 2 pair. That doesn't work because the 3 needs to be part of the sum. The 3 needs to be part of the sum, not part of the product, is I guess a way to say it. And so the correct way to say this is 3 is part of the sum. I don't know where the 3 is, but there's not a 3 in the product. And so the minimum sum, and by that 3, I mean the 3 up here. So the minimum sum here is actually 6, 2, and 3. 6, 2, and 3 and 1, actually. 6, 2, and 3 and 1 is 12. That is exactly enough to tell me there's not enough room for a 9. So that has to be a 7, which is all I wanted. I maybe should have asked for more out of life, but that is true. Okay. Now the minimum sum of these digits is now 13, 15. So I can't have a 3-cell, and this is Carl's way of noticing this. I can't have 3 more cells in the sum, because if I have 3 more cells in the sum, then the minimum sum is 21, because these sum to at least 6. So that's probably the much faster way to have done this. So in fact, actually, the way this breaks up has to be like that, if I think about it and say things in the right order. So therefore, this is a 1 or a 5. These are a 2, 3. Those sum to 12, so these need to sum to 8, so that's a 2. There we go. Okay, so now everything is right with the universe. Okay, that's not a 1 anymore, because of the 1, 5 looking at it. That 2, 3 looks down and sorts out my 9 and my 3 and my 8 and my 9. Tells me there's a 9 down here somewhere and probably some other digits. There's a 6 down here somewhere. Any others that I'm super excited about noticing that I know they're good? There's a 4 down here. And I guess the other 1, 7 is down here. So if this is a 1, these are a 4, 6, 7 triple, which would mean these sum to at least 10, but I don't think that's a problem because the 1's not part of the arrow there. So I think I'm okay with all of that so far. I know there's a 2 down here, I suppose, although at this point I think my pencil marks are probably making it worse instead of better. Hey, Kuraban, I hope you're doing well. Let's see. Yeah, so there's an 8 or a 9 over there. Let's see. Can I do anything with noting that these would... So these are either a 2, 3 pair or an 8, 9 pair. I don't know if that's interesting. ELSF is pointing out this isn't 1 because there's a 1, 7 pair in the row. Agree. So the minimum sum of these 2 digits is at least 5. So the minimum sum of this total arrow is at least 11. That's not so exciting, because that could still be 2 and 9, maybe. Let's see. Sayori says this being 1 breaks box 5. Trying to understand how this being 1 would break box 5. I don't quite see the Okay, so 1 point is there's a 4 in one of these two cells. And so if this is a 1, that's a 4 for sure. I guess is 1 point that we could make, because I can't put the 4 here and a 1 here. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so I know that this digit's not an 8 because I know the 8's over here. So these digits can't be a 2-3 pair is Carl's point. Because if these digits are a 2-3 pair, it breaks the white dot. So if these can't be a 2-3 pair, that means one of them is definitely a 9, which means that's not a 9. And now that the fact that one of these is a 9 now means this isn't a 9, which now assuredly means this isn't a 1. Okay. I like Carl's argument here a lot. About one of these having to be a 9. So that not being able to be a 9 now means this can't possibly be a 1 because these would sum to at most 5, and these already sum to at least 6. That doesn't work. Oh, I lost an 8 corner mark here somehow. No idea how, but anyway, that makes this a 7 and this a 1. Which makes that a 5 and that a 1. Okay, so now the maximum sum here is 11, which means certainly that's not a 9, because if that was a 9, just these 3 cells would sum to more than 11. So we've got that. Let's see. This cell, its actual minimum value is 2, actually. So I actually know the minimum possible sum is actually 8. Here, if this is a 2, and these are 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, we could scroll down to the double arrow rules. That's a smart spot, Selena. Thank you. Okay. Sayori is still paying attention to this 4 corner mark for us and noting that if this is a 2, that's a 4. And so now these would need to sum to 5 in order to make the double arrow work, because, again, this being a 2 displaces a 4 corner mark and puts a 4 there, but now makes the double arrow sum to way too much. So this can't be a 2. If this is a 3, then that's a 4. And now the sum is 10, and so I would need these to be a 1, 2, 3 triple in that universe. It's probably okay. That would have to be the 2. That would have to be the 1. I guess I know that this is... I actually now know that this is a 1, 4, 6 triple, so I can fill that in. Can I do any eliminations like that 6 is too large? Because if this is a 6, what's the minimum sum here? 6 plus 1, 2, that would be 9. Plus 2... would be 11, and that could be 4. Unfortunately, 6 there just works. So that is regrettable. Let's see. Okay, let's fill in the rest of these columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And these are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we've said that one's not a 9 already. Okay. Oh, cute. Okay, so that's very smart. Okay, so several people in chat have noticed this. When I was explaining what the world looked like, where this is a 3, my world involved putting a 3 here. Because if I put a 3 here, what we said is these have to be a 1, 2, 3 triple, but where is the 3 in the 1, 2, 3 triple? It's there. And so if I'd have paid attention to the 3-3 combination, that does not work. So we get some more destruction. in terms of pencil markage. Let's mark this row while we're at it. Okay, I'm going to guess this is not a 9 for lots of reasons, including the corner marked 9 and what it would do, the double arrow, and every other problem that there would be with that being a 2, 3, or 9. Let's see. I know one of these two is a 9. I'm trying to see if this is telling me, if those pencil marks over there are telling me something super insightful, but I don't think so. Oh, this column is all but done. Carl points out there's a 1, 4, and a 9 left because we have a 2, 3 pair there. Assuredly, if I put a 9 on this double arrow, it's going to be a problem, because if I put a 9 here, the minimum sum here would be 1, 2, 9. That's 13 already. No, sorry, that's 12 already, but plus 5. 1, 2, 9 is 12 plus 5 is 17. That's way too many, given that one of the circles is a 4. So these aren't a 9, and that is a 9. Is the point. Okay, so the minimum sum now is 12. If this is 5, and that's a 2. The minimum sum is 12, which means this actually has to be an 8, and actually the sum has to be the minimum. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So that was gorgeous as a string of steps, 1 and 8. And 3 and 9 goes there now, so the 8 goes there now because of the Kropke dot. And 9, so this is a 2 and a 1 and a 7 and a 9 and a 6 and an 8 and a 3 and a 2. And a 3 goes there, and a 6 goes there, and a 2 goes there. A 3 goes there, so now 1 and a 3 go over there. 3, 6 over here. I really did want to say Kropke doot, but I didn't want to impinge upon anyone's intellectual property. But I love the phrase Kropke doot. Okay, so now we can think about how am I making these digits sum to 8? And so the point is this is a 3-cell sum to 8, of which one digit we now know is a 2 or a 5. And so the only way to do a 3-cell sum to 8 where one of the digits is a 2 or a 5 is for them to be 1, 2, 5. And so that therefore is a 1, and this is a 2 or a 5. But you can notice very happily that it is not a 2. So that is a 5 and a 2, which makes that a 4 and a 1 and a 4 and a 6. Makes that not a 2. Makes that not a 5. And that not an 8. So we've got a whole bunch of Sudoku happening. Let us mark up some of the rest of the world. We'll mark up all of that as well. Okay, so this is not a 3 because it's on a Kropke dot. So this is a 5 or an 8. This is a 5, 6, or 7. So if this were a 5, this could be a 6. This is certainly not a 5 at the very least. So we have that. So this is a 6, 7, or 9, which means this is probably an 8, but who knows? Okay, so we've got all of that at least. Oh, Jim points out we have a 3, 7 pair in this row. That's super helpful because that makes that a 5, that an 8, that a 3, that a 9, and a 5. Good spot to Jim there. That makes this not a 6. Which makes this the 6 for the row, because there's nowhere else to put 6 in row 8. So that's a 7 and a 3. It's an 8 and a 7 and a 3. That is a 4 and a 5 and a 4 and a 7 and a 5 and a 6. So we've got a 2 down here, a 1 down here, a 9 here, a 2 here, a 7 here, and our bet tree is a 9. So congratulations to all the 9 bettors. May all your betting tree wishes come true. And welcome, Lakia. And the school year is treating me quite well. I love all of my classes this semester. So aside from the whole fact that the first week of the semester I got COVID, everything else has gone well. So I am having a lot of fun, and hopefully the students are also enjoying themselves. They're very energetic, and it is a thing I am looking forward to each day. So woohoo! That was a very nice puzzle playmaker. I enjoyed that quite a bit. There was a lot of magic happening. I really enjoyed the way that this string of white dots interplayed with the German whispers to force these digits to be low, to sort of then force how all of the product sum nonsense unraveled. That was very cool. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that. But then, like, at every step, there was some other neat deduction. Pekrintala asks if my students know that I'm a Sudoku setter. I teach a course on Sudoku setting, so at least the students who take the course on Sudoku setting tend to figure it out. There are at least a few students who've taken the course who still show up in stream now and then. And there's going to be a whole new generation of Zeta Sudoku setting students this January. So we'll we'll presumably have more of them, hopefully. There was at least one a minute ago, Selena, but we'll see if we have any volunteers. But I also have some students who I see in chat who did not take the Sudoku course but just found it, so I would do that. Tristan reveals that tragically, no one bet 9, so the house won all of the money off of this puzzle. But woohoo, more points for me. Excellent. I do a week on insane puzzles in the course, Andrew. That is how I do it. But I sort of like start with vanilla stuff and then work up to absolute insanity. It's true. I think if there's anything, if there's anyone in the world who doesn't need to take a course on how to make insane Sudoku puzzles, I think it is probably Andrew Sarkis. Alrighty, I am going to take a quick break, stretch, and I will be back shortly. So see you all in just a moment. Great to be back. Alrighty, welcome back. Where next up we have 200 streams of Zetatude uh, by Chili. And I will note that on our 100 stream spectacular, one of the puzzles we did was 100 streams of Zetatude by Chili. And I loved that puzzle. It in fact made my puzzle of the year list 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago, not last year even, right? Time is a flat circle or something. I'm confused, but I think that was actually even 2 years ago on the list. But anyway, so I'm very much looking forward to this. I have been warned that I will probably need a note sheet, so I have gotten paper ready to keep track of stuff. Oh, 1 year ago. Okay, 1 year ago. Okay, that does sound better chronologically. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, yes, I remember, because now I remember the video, because that video involves Tall Cat. And so that would have been in that. Yes, I'm going to do the fan dance for Jim in just a second, Tristan. But I was going to sort of introduce the puzzle first. But yes, Jim has now been a fan for 5 months. So let us get Jim the fan dance. Ba-boop-ba-doo, woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo, woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo, woohoo! Ba-doop-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo, woohoo! Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Alrighty, so there are 200 stream puzzles left, including this one. So we're almost at the end. So we have that. Okay, so there are 9 special cells, 1 in each row, column, and box. Each contain different digits. So we've got 9 modified cells, and they're sort of a fully disjoint set, 1 in every row, column, and box, and they contain the digits 1 through 9 once each. We have a doubler. I'm going to write this down just so I have my sheet of paper. We have a doubler. We have a zeroer that makes the thing a 0. I wonder if we'll have a fiver. We have a negator, which makes the digit count as negative. We have a halver, which makes its value half. We have what I'm going to write as a +1er and a -1er, which increase and decrease the value of the digit by 1. We have a tripler, which does what it says. And we have a primer, to operate on a composite digit and give a consecutive prime digit. Okay, so a primer, I'm going to write that down for myself just so that I'll remember it. Changes a composite digit to a consecutive prime. Yeah, so the easy fact is, or sorry, the level 1 fact is that 1 isn't prime, and then the fancy fact is that 1 isn't composite either. So we don't have to worry about those. Okay, so now we have some. Oh, and we have a compositor that does the opposite, operates on a prime value and turns it into a composite. Compositor. Change prime to consecutive composite. Okay. The nice thing is it's going to be hard, and please do not try to break the most insane modifier puzzle that I've ever done on stream, because I did Tesseralis' 6x6x6, which if you've not seen, Tristan, can you post a link in chat just so I can show off Tesseralis' 6x6x6 for those who haven't seen it? It would be helpful. Because that puzzle was absolutely insane. Okay, so we'll clarify while Tristan pulls up the link for me. He sounds delighted that I asked him to do this. So we have to decide which modifier is which and all of that business. There we go. So here is the crazy puzzle that I am mentioning. So this is a six 6x6s, except there's modifiers in every grid, and the modifiers don't overlap. And there are also one of each of 6 kinds of modifiers, which include +2, -2, ×2 divided by 2 squared, and square root. And so this included the following very helpful reference, which was part of the solving process, was to keep track of this, because every square of this was a modifier that had to occur somewhere. And so as we were solving it, chat was sending me updated versions of like, oh, you've used this and used this, but you haven't used that, and all of that kind of thing. It was, I think if I had to pick, I think it was the most insane puzzle that I have solved on stream. Anyway. All that being said, let's get back to this puzzle, which I have said all of that just to make this puzzle look completely sane and normal by comparison. So Kuraban remembers the table. Yeah, the Chili remembers it. Yeah, there several people in chat remember it. It was a very memorable puzzle for sure. Okay, so what are the line types? Oh, I don't think I finished reading, by the way, the things. Okay, so these are region sum lines. So that means that the sum of these cells is the same as the sum of this cell, which is going to require some modifier business. That's going to require some modifier business. And then the purples are Renbon. I think 100 streams of Zetatude, I think, also involved purple lines and Renbon. So we get some amount of that. Okay. The value of cell and an arrow. Cells separated by a red dot are strictly non-consecutive, so they can't be consecutive digits or have consecutive values. Okay. Okay, so the first thing to identify is things that are going to require various sorts of modifiers. So for example, if I put no modifiers in here, the puzzle's already broken because I can't have 4 digits that sum to 1 digit. So any cell that sees all 4 of these definitely is not modified. And so I'm going to use this gray to mark is not modified. Now, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is a 12-length Renbon. And so a 12-length Renbon is going to require quite some work in order to make work, because I only have 9 regular digits. I'm going to have to imagine somehow to get some 3 additional digits, which is going to require 3 modified cells. So this is definitely modified. And I definitely know that these aren't modified because I need to have 3 different modified cells. And remember, I'm only allowed to have 1 modified cell per box. Okay, and I'm not allowed to repeat. Okay, now that immediately tells me, because remember, one of these 5 cells needed to be modified. Well, now one of these 2 cells has to be modified. So those aren't modified and those aren't modified. Now, remember also, looking at this also, well, one of these 2 cells has to be modified because they have the same value. And so that one's not, so that one is. So we have all of that is, we have all of that is gray, and gray, and gray. This cell can't sum to the sum of these 4 without some sort of shenaniganery. And so again, that cell can't be modified. Oh, I need to scroll up the rules a little bit. Sorry. So we've got all of that. Okay, so this is a completely normal Renbon, actually. We now know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a length 9 Renbon. So we actually can do all our usual Renbon Sudoku-y stuff with this Renbon, if we are so inclined. Like that digit has to go in one of those 2 cells, for example. What are the digits that are going to appear on this? So I can get 1 through 9. I can get a 0. Oh, right. Okay, so, sorry, before we answer that, let's actually note that one of these two is a modifier, so this isn't a modifier, so this is a modifier. And so none of those are modifiers, and so there's a modifier down here somewhere. Okay. Good spot to kuraban. So I can get a 0 out of the zeroer. So I'm going to need that for the renban, probably. I can get a 10 out of a doubler, so I'm probably going to need that. Oh, I could get a 10 out of a doubler or a +1er, actually. I'm not sure which one. How am I going to get an 11? Or a -1? Oh, I can get a -1 out of a negator. So there's no way in these rules to get an 11. So I'm going to get either a doubler for a 5, but I'm going to need the negator for the -1, because that's the only way I'm going to get to a -1. But I realize I also missed a possibility, which is that the zeroer doesn't have to be the 0. I could also get it from the -1er. So I need either the 0 or the -1. One of those is on the renban to get me a 0. And the doubler or the +1er, I need one of those on the renban to get me that. Okay, so 1 on renban, 1 on renban. Okay. So that tells me... Oh, you just want a coaster? That tells me what possibilities we have here. No, because 11 is only consecutive to 10, Kelly, I believe. So being a modifier, that gives me only a few things I could be. Oh, no, that's not right, because I could use the zeroer. If I use the zeroer, I could do anything. So never mind. So I don't actually know exactly what this is going to be. Gives the value of a consecutive composite digit, Kelly. Okay. So yeah. So if this is a 0 or this could be anything, otherwise, then who knows? Okay. So I know what digits are represented, but I don't immediately know a whole lot more than that. I know that this digit shows up in one of these two places for whatever that is worth. Which is like kind of, but not really giving me some insight into how this is actually going to work in terms of this actual Ren Bunny goodness. Okay, good spot. So Carl spots that this digit can be catch-upped. Because this digit, where does it go in box 2? 9 and 11 are not consecutive, Andrew. This digit, where does it go here? It can't repeat on the renban because this is an ordinary renban full of all ordinary stuff. And so, therefore, this and that are the same. Also, you have to apply a compositor to a prime digit, so you couldn't apply it to a 9 to begin with. That is also an issue. The red dots are super weird because they're saying two different things. They're saying the values aren't consecutive, and they're also saying that words, and they're also saying the digits aren't consecutive. I wonder if it's interesting here because these two have to be the same value, and that value has to be at least 6. How many ways are there to make two things of the same value with that value being at least 6 that would not make these two consecutive? So I could do a doubler with a 4 and an 8. That's one way I could do it. Nothing with a 0 or a negator, a haver, and I can't use the +1er or the -1er. I could do a tripler with a 3 and a 9. That's a possibility. And I can't do a primer or a compositor. Okay, so this cell is a doubler or a tripler, I think is what I've concluded. I think those are the only options. And so it's either a doubler on a 4 or a tripler on or a tripler on a 3. I think those are the only options. So I think this is an 8 or a 9 because of that, is what happens. Okay, so we've got that. I agree the 1 is negated to give me the -1 because I needed a -1. So yeah, the negator is definitely here. I agree with Ilm. That is also what I have written in my notes. So that's the same thing I said last time, apparently. Okay. But the point is, therefore, this is the thing I didn't see. I can't -1 to get a 0, because if I -1 to get a 0, then I'm modifying 1 twice, and I'm not allowed to modify 1 twice. So in fact, the thing on the Renban that gets me a 0 is a zeroer, and the thing on the that gets me a -1 is a negator. And so then the other thing I have to decide is how am I getting a 10, and it's either by doubling a 5 or adding 1 to a 9, and I'm not quite sure yet which one. Okay, so Playmaker's pointing out there actually are only sort of 2 real universes here, because there's either a 3 here with a 9, in which case this is a sum to 3 that doesn't have a 3, in which case it's 1, 2, 6. Or this is a 4 with an 8, in which case this is a 1, 2, 5. In which case, the point is there's always a 1 and a 2 in these, and it's either a 1, 2, and a 5, or a 1, 2, and a 6. Okay. That is interesting in and of itself. Okay. I know there's a ketchup down here somewhere in one of these cells, and I know it's not modified down here. Okay, and I know one of this mess of cells is a 1, but I don't think anything sees all of those cells. Okay, so one of them is, yeah. And so the zeroer could be modifying literally anything. And then the doubler, let's remember, it's either a doubler or a +1er, so it's either a 5 or a 9. So the things that are being modified on the Renban are definitely a 1, something that I know absolutely nothing about, and then a 5 or a 9, for whatever it's worth. So now Selena's question is, can I really, or how exactly am I making this work? And how am I making this work? Given that I can't 0 this. So if I can't 0 that, what am I doing? Because if I need to make this value less. If I don't make this value less, it's not going to work. Now, I could do something like use the -1er, and so I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, and subtract 1 from one of those. And if I do that, that would make this a 9. I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, and have the 4, which would make this an 8. Let's see. Okay, so are there other ways? I could do a primer with a 1, 2, 3, 4 to replace the 4 with a 3. And I could do a compositor to replace... Oh, maybe I can't actually do a compositor. But I think the point is that at absolute minimum, these sum to 8. And so I think this is always an 8 or a 9, is I think the point here. Okay, Martin is saying I should count how many cells are on this renbon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a 10-cell renbon. So this 10-cell renbon also needs a 0 or a 10 on it. But the point is, we've used all the ways to get 0 already, because I have already minus 1. I've already minused the 1, so I can't minus 1 something else to get a 0. So I have to have a 10 on this renbon. And so the 10 is either a doubled 5 or a +1 on a 9. So the doubler and the +1er as ways to get a 10, they're actually on different renbons, but they're both used on renbons. Okay. And so, if I write down a little row of notes of where we've used the digits, I can actually say where we've modified. So the 5 is modified by a doubler on a renbon. And the 9 is modified by a +1er on a renbon as well. So I don't have to worry about those. Now, chat is correctly identifying that because we now know we've used the doubler 5, this can't be a doubler anymore. And so we actually have a digit that this is a tripler. And so we get to do our favorite 3 dance. Ba-boop-ba-doo, woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo, woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo, woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo, woohoo! Thank you, Zach. Thank you. So I'm going to update my notes to say that I tripled the 3. And so that is done. So I can sort of tick that off of my list. So that makes that a 9 and makes these a 1, 2, 6. So like that. 1 and 2. Okay. And I'm just going to continue updating my list. I know how the 1 is used. The 1 is used with a negator on the renbon. So on the 2 renbon, in fact. Okay, so things I have not yet used, or things I don't yet know. Zach did a 3 dance, but it's a fair point that Zach could have done a 9 dance instead. The things I've not yet used are the 2, the 4, the 6, the 7, and the 8. Now, the funny thing is, given that the things I've not yet used are 2, 4, 6, 7, and 8, I have to use the compositor on the 7. Because if I don't use the compositor on the 7, there's nothing for me to use it on. Because I can't use a compositor on a 2, because there's not a composite number that's consecutive with 2. So the compositor has to get used on the 7, because 4, 6, and 8 are composite to start with. And I, by definition, have to use the compositor on a... thing. Did Tristan ever open betting, and is the betting now closed? I don't know. So the 7 is used on a compositor, and so now the things that are left are 2, 4, 6, and 8. And so this cell, it's not a composited 7. That's for sure. So this is definitely even, I think is the point. Oops. And I don't think there's any way it's an 8, because if it was an 8, I would have to have it, and that wouldn't work. Okay. So that all works out reasonably. Okay. So what are we doing with our lives now? Apparently, the bet has been nullified. That is that seems to be the case. This cell is also a sum of 4 digits, but it's not clear to me immediately whether the modified thing is this cell being modified or these being modified. I think it's much more likely to be this one. But I'm not 100% sure. So what if it's not this one? If this is not being modified, by our logic above, this would have to be an 8. And the only way to get an 8 is to have a 4. So that is... Oh, interesting. Okay, so Martin says all the increasing modifiers are spoken for. Because, right, I can't double or triple. The +1 is on one of these Renbon, because we needed to +1 a 9 in order to get a 10, Playmaker. Because we need 2 10s, and one of the 10s is a +1 to 9, and one of the 10s is a doubled 5. So we've used both of those elsewhere. Right, and so the only other way we make something bigger is to prime it, but priming it won't make it big enough. The tripler is there, Nicholas. Priming it won't make it big enough, so I think this digit's always an 8. If I believe my logic here, I think this digit's always an 8. No problem. That's why I have a sheet of paper in front of me, so that when people ask that, I can answer it. If you don't have the sheet of paper in front of you, I can't blame you for losing track of where these are. We might be able to modify both of them, but my point is not that this isn't modified. My point is that even if it is modified, it still has to be an 8. Because I can't modify a number smaller than 8. Because the calculation we did before was that even if you modified one of these 4 digits, the minimum the sum is still 8. And so I think this is always an 8, though I'm welcoming the possibility that I am missing a possibility. But I also think actually once you realize it's an 8, I don't think you can modify it, because there's nothing that would not make it too small. Oh, right. Sorry, that's right. Because the 7 is being composited. Right. I was saying we haven't used the 7, but the 7's being composited, so 7 can be composited to an 8. So, right. So this is a 7 or an 8. But the value of this cell, I think, is always 8. And so Carl's question isn't the only way to get to 8 with 1, 2, 3, 4, and a halved 4. And I think that's true, but I want to double check that I believe that just by doing a quick skim of the things we haven't used. So we haven't used the halver, we haven't used the -1er, but a -1er will still get you to 9, and this can't have a value of 9. And tripler, compositor, yeah. So I think that's right. I think these have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think the 4 has to be halved. So I think the 4 is halved in box 9. In box 9. Which means that it's not halved here. The negator is negating a 1 on this Renbon to give us a -1 so that we can go from -1 up to 10. I think that makes this a 9. Because we said the only way to get 8 is to use a halved 4, and we've used the halved 4. So that is 9. I think you can still open betting if you are so inclined. So this I don't think can be a 6 anymore, because we're not allowed to use the haver anymore. And nothing else I could do to the 6 would make it small enough. And it's not a 4 either, because I've already used the 4 modifier down here. So I think this is the modified 2. What modifier are we allowed to apply to the 2, though? I think the only one that we can apply to it is the -1er. Do we agree? Yeah, there's nothing else that would make it small, because you can't composite the 2 and you can't prime the 2. So the 2 here is -1'd in box 2. And so I think that means that these just have to be 1, 3, 4. in order to make that work. I think there's no other option. So we've got that. Okay, so the remaining digits to modify are 6 and 8, and I know these aren't modified, by the way. Okay, so the remaining digits to modify are 6 and 8, and the remaining modifiers that I've not yet applied, let's see, we've used the doubler, used the zeroer, used the negator, used the halver, used the plus oneer and the minus oneer and the tripler. Right, so wait. Oh, right. One of the 6 and 8 is zeroed, because I said we've used the zeroer, but I didn't actually say where we use the 0. So the 6 and 8 are zeroed on here, or sorry, one of the 6 and 8 is zeroed, and one of them is primified. So if the 6 is primified, it can be turned into a 5 or a 7. If the 8 is primified, it's turned into a 7. Okay, so the 6 and the 8 are a primifier zeroer pair. Okay. Is my my understanding of the current state of things. Okay, so let's write down, therefore, what this is allowed to be. So it could be a doubled 5. It can't be a +1 to 9. So if it's a 10, that's it. It could be a -1, in which case this would be a 1. Or it could be a 0'd 6 or 8. So I think this was now down to 1, 5, 6, or 8, for whatever that is worth. Let us see here. It can't be 1 because of ketchup. Right. Ketchup's not 1 because ketchup sees 1 in this oople. So, right. So I can copy that I know that ketchup is 5, 6, or 8. And so one of these is a 1 for whatever that microscopic amount of information is worth. It's got to be worth something, right? I mean, I guess a very minuscule thing I know is that I have to put an actual 1 on this renbon. So there's an actual 1 in one of these places, but who knows where. I know there's an actual 1 on this renbon as well, for whatever that is worth. But who knows? Yeah, like these two 1, 2, 1, 3, 4s, they go down here somewhere, but that's not immediately useful. I mean, I suppose think about what values this arrow could have, but that seems like it's going to be a mess given that I'm not sure that that I know a lot. Maybe I know enough with the fact that these two can't be consecutive. But so is it something like that this can't be a 1 or a 2? Because if this was a 1 or a 2... Okay, so keep in mind the value of this cell is never 4. The value of this cell is 1, 2, or 3. Because remember that the 4 in this box is halved. So the actual maximum value of this cell is 5. So if the maximum value is 5, that is if I add a 2 and a 3, then that means that this cell is at most 6, because I could primify the 6 to have it act as a 5. So this is assuredly from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we can probably do better than that. It's assuredly not the 1 or the 2, because those have already been modified, and it certainly doesn't sum to 1 or 2. If this is a 3, then these would be 1, 2, and it would break for the funny reason. Oh, sorry, they could be 1, 4. But that still doesn't work, because if this is a 3, these are definitely going to be consecutive. But you have to think, I think you have to think about this in cases. If this is a 3, what are these? They're either 1, 2, in which case this is a 4, which happens to be consecutive with 3, or this is a 1, 4, in which case this is a 2, which is also consecutive with 3. I guess the easiest way to do is to say if this is a 3, then this is a 1, and now I can't make these two add to 3. Whatever. This is not a 3. That's the point of all of this. So this is 4, 5, or 6 to go here. Now, if there's a 1 on here, we can't get that high. So I don't think there can be a 1 on this arrow anymore, because if there's a 1 on this arrow, I think this digit's too small. Or sorry, I think this digit's too big, because the most I could get is 1 plus 3, which is... oh, 1 plus 3 is 4. Is 1 plus 3 is 4 acceptable? If this is a 1 and a 3, adding up to 4, then that would be a 2. That would be the 4. Maybe that's all okay. Maybe, sorry, I think 1 plus 3 is 4 just works. But this can't be a 1 or a 2, is Carl's point, which is smart. Because if this is a 1 or a 2, then they definitely add to 3, and that doesn't work. So this isn't 1 or 2. This is definitely 3 or 4. Let's see. Okay, so if this is 4, is 1 plus 3. Okay, so Garian is saying I have a modifier problem if I make this the 4. So if this is a 4, then this is 1 plus 3. This 4 is unmodified. And therefore, this is the modified 4. Oh, and that's a problem. Yes, so the key thing is if this is unmodified, then this is modified. And so if this is a 4, this is a 4. And that doesn't work because row 9, because of where row 9's doubler is. So I think I'm seeing this differently than Garian is, but Garian's point is correct. This being a 4 just doesn't work because it being a 4 forces this to be a 4. So this is a 5 or a 6. Okay. And once this has to be a 5 or a 6, now this can't be a 1. Because if this is a 1, I'm not getting large enough. So this has to be a 2. And in fact, this can't be a 4 either because that wouldn't work. So this has to be a 3. So it's also unmodified. And this is also unmodified. And these are 2, 3. That is not a 2 anymore. So one of these is really a 2. And so we're making some limited progress now. Over here. Okay, so we have a good spot from Martin again, which is that if this is a 4, then this is a 6. But if it's a 4 and a 6, they're both modified. And they touch each other because the 4 can't touch a 5. So a 4 and a 6 would have to both be modified because this arrow doesn't sum to 6. So this is not a 4 because of that. This is the 1 and that's the 4. And so the 4, remember, is halved. This is unmodified. So this is modified. This is unmodified. And so now this is unmodified. So the sum of those cells is just 8. And the sum of these two is 5, but this is modified. So it must be the primified 6, which now makes that a 2. I agree, Playmaker. This is a very cool string of weirdnesses. So, okay, so now this isn't a 6 anymore because it's modified, and we now know that the 6, okay, so the 6 is now been primified, so the 6 is primed, and so that means the 8 is in fact zeroed. So the zeroed digit is an 8. So we have that. Okay, so if these are both 5, that's a 5. If these are both 8, then who cares? Anything could happen. This digit's a 6 by Sudoku, because the 6 has to go in this box somewhere, presumably. Okay, so these digits include a 7 and a 9, because they're not 1, 2, 3, 4. They could be 5. They're not 6, and they're 7, 8, 9, but these aren't 8. Oh, so this is the 8. Right, the 8's just placed. I did not do very well at placing the 8, but we've placed the 8. So that is not a 9. This is no longer modified. So this digit is just a 5, 7, or 9 as well. These are the same digit. Okay, I no longer have to worry about that. I was assuming this was going to be some sort of razzmatazz sort of thing, but there was no razzmatazz in this particular issue. Okay, there's a lot of 2s. Oh, in fact, there's so many 2s that that's a 2. There's a 2 there. Okay. Go. Okay, so the 6 in this box I can say is definitely in one of those 2 cells. That 5, 7, 9 is also in one of these 2 cells. So these are from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 5, 6, 7, 9, because that 5, 7, 9 is there. And it's also in one of these 2 cells, depending on whether it's 9 or not. Okay, so now I know that the other 2 things on here are a 1 that has been negated, and either a 5 or a 9, but I don't know which one yet, I don't think. I might well, but I don't think I do. Row 3 has a 5, 7, 9 triple, I am being told. I don't see how I know anything about where the other 5, 7, 9 is yet. I believe you, but I don't see it. Oh, what's the modifier in row 3? Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Right. Ilma's completely right. The modifier... Oh, I don't... Do I know for sure there aren't 2 modifiers on this Renbon, though? I do know there's a modified 5 or 9 on this Renbon in one of these cells, but I think I could still... have a composite thing. Although, amusingly, even if the modifier is the composited 7, it's still a 5, 7, or a 9. So bizarre. So these digits are... So I think Ilma's actually correct, because I think the only options for what this thing could be are that it could be the composited 7, in which case I think these can't be 5, 7, or 9. So I think that means that if you actually mark in what these can be, they can't be 5, 7, or 9. They can't be 6 or 8. This one can't be 2 or 3 either, so I think this one has to be a 1 or a 4. But I don't know if I believe this was the intended stuff. Maybe, who knows? Let's see. There may be lower hanging fruit as of yet undiscovered or something. Okay. Okay. Carl's making a point that we've sort of talked about ones extensively and how there have to be two ones on this line because one is a real one and one is a fake one, which means there's definitely a one of some description on this line, which means these are never one. So you could at least rule one out of those. 2 and 8. Right. Okay. So so Ambrose pointing out that the 3 in this box is in one of these two, and that aligns with the 3 up here, giving us ye old Z wing, which puts a 3 onto this Renbon over here. It seems like the sort of thing that maybe should do something, but I don't know that it does anything at the moment. But I would not be at all surprised if there's just a like, oh, this is a Sudoku sort of thing, kind of thing. So the modified digit here is a 1, 5, or a 9. The modified digit here is a 1, 5, or a 9. For sure, for whatever that is worth. I'm just saying things. Well, the modified digit here is not a 9 for what it's worth. So the modified digit here is a 1 or a 5 only. Is that an interesting thing to notice? Oh, right. Okay. So Garion has identified that there's a real 9 on this 2, and I only have, or sorry, on this 2, and it has to go in here, but that means there's nowhere for a modified 9 here. So the modifiers on here are actually a doubled 5, a doubled 5, and a negated 1, for sure. And so the +1 to 9 is actually over here, for what it's worth. So there's definitely a 9 in these cells for what it's worth, because I do need 2 9s on this O now. So one of those is a 9, which means, and this is the tiniest. Oh, it's not a tiny deduction. It means this isn't a 9, which gives me a 5, 7 pair, which means that this is a 9, which means that that's a 9, which means that the modified digit over here is actually a 7, because remember, the only modified digit we have left is the composited 7 that we have not yet placed, which now means that this is a 5 and that's a 7. Okay, and so we've got a composited 7, which means we have an actual 7 down here. We have the modified 9 now over here, because remember, the modified 9 needs to be on this Renbon. So there's a modified 9 here. These aren't modified. That's not modified. That is modified, and it's a 7. So we've got all of that going on. This is 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, one of these is the modified 9. I need an actual 7 somewhere along here, as well as assorted other kinds of digits. 9 in box. 9 in box 9, Ilm points out, is placed. Gives me a corner marked 9 over here. Let's see. It does sort of feel like a Sudoku thing is coming, right? That 5 is here. So these are actually a 5, 6 pair. That's the thing I'm supposed to notice, because I can't put a 5 anywhere else in this box, and I can't put a 6 anywhere else. So these are actually a 5, 6 pair. So that places the 5 down into box 8, which makes that the 3 for whatever it's worth. These are now just a triple of 1, 4, and 7, it would seem, which places this digit as the only place for whatever the other one is in the column. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's the only place for 9 in the column. I eventually found out the long, exhausting way. That, oh yeah, I've got a Z-wing on 1s, but it doesn't do anything. One of these 2 is a 4, so that means one of these 2 is a 4, setting up for potential maybe Z-wing. Oh, this is only a triple. Maybe I should fill in the triple. I don't know how I feel about that. It may not have been the most useful thing I've ever done, if I'm being completely honest. I know there's a 7 over here by Sudoku, and that 7 is unmodified. And so that means that in this box, I can't have a 7 anywhere on here. So the 7's actually in one of these 2 cells. Continuing things that sound like they might be useful. Oh, it is actually useful because it places the 7 in this box. Because now the 7 in this box is here. And so now there's a 7 down here, and it's not there. So actually one of these 2 is a 7. Let's see. There's no way that these are useful to note, is there? It does not look like it. To me, at least not immediately. Let's see. I can fill in these digits. Why not? So they're just 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know the 3 is over there, so it's not here. So this is a 1 or a 4, because I know one of these is a 3. Doesn't immediately seem to help. Let's see. So one of these is a 9, I guess. And it's not modified for whatever it's worth. Let's see. 5 is in row 1 in box 1. You can't place 5 in column 3. Don't understand that yet. Let's see. Yes. Where is 7 in column 7 now is a good spot. So it's not there. It's not there. So the 7 in column 7 is in one of these 2 spots, except it's not that one. So the 7 in column 7 is actually placed there. Good spot. Right. Remember, it's a 1 and a 5 that are modified in these cells. So there's a 1 and a 5 in these cells. And so in particular, if I put the 5 up here, then there's a 5 down there, is Carl's point. So there's no 5 there. So there's a 5 over here somewhere. And so therefore there's a 5 over here somewhere. I don't know if it's the modified 5, though. I just know that one of my 5s is over here. But I mean, that gets me one step closer to knowing what all the digits are over here, I suppose. Let's see. So I kind of think I'm supposed to think about what these digits are allowed to be. Right? Because I think these digits aren't actually allowed to be a lot of things. So for example, if I put a 6 here, I rule 6 off of this whole renbon, and that's not good. If I put an 8 here, I rule 8 off of this whole renbon, and that's not good. If I put a 5 here, I rule 5 off of this whole renbon, and that's not good. So Garion says that's not right. I was noticing something seemed to be wrong. Right, sorry, right. The 7 is a 6 or an 8. Right. So the 7 is the 6 or the 8. Sorry. So actually in these cells, what's actually happening, My brain was having a hard time because it didn't sound right. These two digits are these two digits, except this is actually a 6 or an 8. So it's a 6 or an 8 and that 1, 2, 3, 4 that go here. But that means that this 1, 2, 3, 4 is not a 3. Because if I put a 3 here, there'd be a 3 here, and there'd be a 3 here, and that's not going to work. So this is not a 3. It's a 1, 2, or 4. And so these are a 1, 2, 4, and a 6 or 8, whichever one the 7 is. But that's... and somehow it's less exciting when you say it that way. Let's see. Okay. What else do we have happening in our Sudoku adventures here? There's no way like these are like randomly naked singles or something, is there? Because these are not 1 or 6 because of that. So these are from 5, 7, or 9. Do I know anything about them being 5 or 7? I don't think so. I think this row is just messy enough that I don't know anything. I'm going to guess the same is true of this cell. It's not 1 or 6, and it's not 4. It's 5, 7, or 8, but I don't think that that quite is enough to tell me anything. Let's see. I know there's a 1 or a 5 in here, and I know there's a 1 or a 5 in here, but I can't quite get that to tell me anything yet that I can figure out. Let's see. We were making very good progress, and we seem to have stalled out a lot, so I'm going to do my thing of randomly filling in digits until something happens. Let's see. This is not a 5, because the 5's up there, per a beautiful spot from Carl earlier. One of these two is definitely the 3 over here, for whatever that is worth. Probably basically nothing. Let's see. I mean, I guess it tells me neither of these digits is 3, but oh boy, does that seem hard to use. Is it one of these digits that's the naked single? Because I know these can't be 1 or 5. Because the 1 and the 5 need to show up both honestly and dishonestly, and so that's going to claim the 1s and the 5s for the boxes. Let's see. This can't be a 9 because of the 9 I already have corner marked that's saying that one of those has to be the 9. Do I have any way of knowing whether this is a 4, 6, 7, or 8, or is not a 4, 6, 7, or 8? I don't think so. Right. There's definitely a regular 3 down here, Garion points out. That's actually what first made me think to do this, was that I realized that, and then by then I'd forgotten. But the regular 3 can't be in this box because of this corner mark, so this can't be a 3 at least. Let's see. What else shall we notice? Is there 7 and something else? So the modified digit down here is a 9. Is that going to help me do anything? So if that's a 9, that's a 1 or a 5. Is that somehow interesting? It doesn't sound interesting, if I'm being completely honest about it. If that's a 9, then these are a 1, 5. These are from 1, 5, and 9. That's all that goes there. Uh, oh, right. Garion has the point. If this is a 9, then this is a 9, except they're both modified. Whew. Yep, that's it. That's much cleaner than any of the other stuff I've been looking at. If this is a 9, it's modified, which then places a 9 here by Sudoku and places a modifier here by Sudoku, which makes a modified 9. Great spot to Garion and cute thing. So this can't be the 9. Okay. We have once again made, I believe Simon would call it a modicum of progress. But we have once again done a thing. So now these are from 1, 5, and 9, because one of them is the 9 and the other is the modifier. So these are from 1, 5, and 9, which is the sort of pencil mark that excites me, but I don't know that it does anything immediately that I can see, but who knows, maybe it does. Let's see. So what shall we now do? Okay. At the drag show, there was a particularly memorable and good performance of the song "If You're Good to Mama, Mama Will Be Good to You" from Chicago that I have had playing on a loop in my head basically ever since. That I am hearing. Let's see. Is it about 3 in this box? Which is in 3 places that are not necessarily great. Okay, Ilm asks where this thing's real value goes on the Renbon. Which is basically just going to be this digit, right? Because this digit's not appearing in some sort of fancy way. This just literally is. So I think Ilm's point is that this digit goes in one of these 2 cells together with the 1 or 5. So that these are from 1, 5, 4, 6, 7, 8. I think. What about this cell? I think actually asking the same question about this cell might actually be immediately useful, because where does... Oh, no, I was thinking it was going to be force there, but it's not force there. This thing could go over there, or even there, maybe. It's not quite as good. It's almost as good. Okay, so Ilm's point is actually big, because the thing that we got out of this is that none of these digits are 2. And so, therefore, where does 2 go where does 2 go on this Renbon? 2 on this Renbon needs to go down here somewhere, not there. So that's not a 2. And these digits can't be 2 either. And so 2 in this box is actually placed on top of the 3. So these are actually a 2-3 pair, making these a 1-4 pair. I was suddenly thinking if these were a 1 and 4 and that was 1 and a 4, that was going to put too many 1-4s on this Renbon, because we were going to need to like put a 4 down here or something. But I don't think that that's immediately a problem, because remember, I do get 2 1s on this Renbon. In fact, I need to have 2 1s on this Renbon somewhere. Let's see. So this 1, 4. Okay, so this 1, 4, remember, goes here. So these are no longer equal to 2. So now the 2... we're starting to get a restriction on the 2 in row 4 because this isn't able to be 2 anymore. So the 2 in row 4 actually only goes in one of these 2 cells for whatever we can buy out of that. And there's a similar in row 5. The 2 only goes in one of these 2 places. Kind of thing going on, but I don't think that quite gets us anywhere. Let's see. So I guess I can also comment the 3 on this long renban also goes here because none of these can be 3 anymore. So there's a 3 in these cells as well. So these are 2 and 3 and one other thing. Do I know where that one other thing shows up at all? I don't think so. What other digit it is that doesn't show up down here? Is it a digit from up here? Does it have to be 6? Because whatever digit is here, the other digit, it does show up here, which means it shows up down here, which means I guess it's 1 or 6, right? I think it has to be 1 or 6, just because of the way sort of Sudoku bullies it around. So I think these are 2, 3, 1, or 6. Just by virtue of that. And it's that 1 or 6, to be clear, not that 1 or 6. Let's see. Sayori says row 3, column 1 is placed on the renban, right? This cell on the renban actually goes there, right? Because I need this 2, 3, and it's in one of those 3 cells, but I know which one. We can make that mustard. So this is not a 1 or a 6. It is mustard 2, 3. So the 1 or the 6 is over here. Let's see. This digit I know goes in row 1 for whatever it's worth, but I don't think that helps. Let's see. If this is a 6, Carl is pointing out that that would make that digit a 6. Is that a problem, making this digit a 6? Probably is with some combination about those. Oh, Garion, I think, might have pointed out that I think our work over here was wrong. Because I asked, where does the third digit that is down here go? And I said it had to go up here. But it actually could be the 1 or the 5. So I think there's an extra option that I missed, which is that it could be a 5. Yeah, that's still true. The mustard point is still true. I'll fill that back in. But I was explaining why I think that that is true. But this 2, 3 still does need to go on the renban, so it still does go there. But now it's a lot less exciting than it was before. Okay, so is it still true? This can't be a 6. Row 5, column 2 is the same as row 2, column 3. Do I know that they're not both 4? And that it actually goes there? row 2, column 1, and row 2, column 2 is row 5, column 3, plus the modifier. I agree. That's how I pencil marked these. Uh, but 1 was even included in my list of things that it was allowed to be. So I think actually maybe Garion has convinced me that actually the 1, 2, 3, 6 logic here was actually correct. I do love seeing ELSF's quilting adventures. They often get posted to Discord and are gorgeous. In fact, I think we have many quilters in chat, actually. Which is very cool. Yeah, this one had a super smooth, like, first, I don't know, what felt like first 80% and then ground to a complete halt at some point. Because we need to find the, like, Y-wing on modifiers or something. Let's see. Like, no. Let's see. This 1 or 4 is here. Color the 1/4s. I'm trying to decide if I can do anything with coloring the 1/4s. See, I know that 1/4 is the same as that 1/4, for example. And I know that's the same as that 1/4. Okay, so these are all the same digit. Let's go ahead and mark them in red. I don't think I know that this digit goes here or goes there, unfortunately. I don't think so, anyway. I do know this digit is one of these two. So if this digit goes there, then it would be the opposite 1/4, but I don't know. Let's see. Chili's suggesting the question is, where does 1 go in box 1? I don't see any information about that I can use. Let's see. Sayori's suggesting just starting chaining on this being 1 and seeing what happens. So that does break. This is just a chain, but if this is a 1, it breaks. Because if this is a 1, then that's a 1, which means there's a 1 in one of these two cells, but then that looks at this that I know is the same digit. But at least seen that way, that's just a gross chain, but I'll take it. So it's 4. So we have that. Like that, all sort of filled in. So no 4s there, no 4s there. So now none of these are 4, so there is a 4 in these cells, so there's not a 4 there. So therefore, that's a 6 and a 1. That's a 7 and a 1. Chili explaining a very plausible sounding way of doing it that doesn't sound like a gross look ahead. Which I definitely believe. So yeah, so now remember we need a modifier 1 and it no longer goes here. So this is now the modifier 1 and that's the modifier 5. And we have done our modifier business. So that's a 1 and that's a 5, which makes that a 9, that a 7. Let's see. These aren't 5 anymore. That is a 5. So these are a 6, 8 pair, and that's a 7. That's a 9. Let's see. That's a 4 now. Let's see. This is not a 7. That's not a 7. So that is a 7, apparently, if I believe my pencil marks from before. So that's a 7. So let's see. So we've got lots of sort of cleanup to do. These aren't 7, so that's a 5 because they're a 4, 8 pair. We've got a 5 hanging out in one of these two cells, but I don't know which one yet. This digit is the same as that digit now because they're both unmodified, and this can't be the 1 anymore. So this is a 6 or an 8. And it seems not to be a 6. So it seems to be that that's an 8, and that's an 8. We now know. These are not 2 or 3, so these are a 4, 6 pair. Let's see, that's not an 8, that's not a 1. That's not a 1, 8, 4, 8. Let's see. 4, 8, 6, 4. Let's see. These are a pair of something and something. There are 4, 5 pairs. So these are 2, 3, 6 triple. Let's see. I need a 1 on this Renbon, so that can't be a 1. So that's a 6. 5 and 6. That's a 3. 2, 3, 3, 2, 6. 1, 2, 3. 8, 6. 6, 4, 5, 4. Oops, 8. So 1, 2, 5, 5. Let's fill in some of this stuff. So that is a 3 and a 1 and a 3 and a 2 and an 8. And our bet tree is a 1. So congratulations to all the 1 bettors out there. May all your betting tree wishes come true. Really neat sort of idea here. I really liked the rule set and I really liked the logic at the beginning. I would have smoothed out that last step because it felt out of it felt out of step with the rest of it. That was so smooth. It's sort of surprising that the hang up in a puzzle with this rule set involved some complicated coloring argument. Rather than the sort of the more central logic, but you did a really good job of making it so that the insanity rules were sort of funny and perky and never resulted in anything completely crazy. So I really loved everything except the one step that I would probably have done without. But yeah, very cool puzzle, very well put together and thought about, and I'm surprised this works out. Alrighty. So I am going to take a quick break again, and then we'll be back with our last Stream 200 puzzle. So you can look forward to 3200 by Kuraban when we come back. Be right back. Welcome back. So I move my notes out of the way. We may not need notes for this one. So this is the last Stream 200 puzzle. So let us see this. So I can make myself bigger because the rules are shorter. Big in the Zeta. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a standard 11 by 11 J-Dyer deconstruction rules. So what that means is we have to find 9 3x3 non-overlapping Sudoku boxes that will fill in the grid somewhere, wherever they happen to be. Excuse me. And those digits, or sorry, those Sudoku boxes have to each be filled with the digits 1 through 9. And you can't repeat those digits in rows or columns. But because there are only 81 cells between those 9 boxes, and there are 121 cells in this grid, that means that 40 cells will just be left empty. And so we can keep that in mind as we work through this. We have a secret that I think is also going to be a given secret in this puzzle once we finish the rules, that no matter how you do that, no matter how you spread your 9 boxes out, these cells, which are the ones whose both row and column number is a multiple of 3, those are that. All right. So let us continue with the rules. So we've got cells along red lines are renbon. So these need to be a series of consecutive digits in any order. Okay, and then cells outside the 3x3 regions do not have digits and are ignored for purposes of renbons. So for example, this could be a 1-2 thing if these two are nothings, for example. Presumably, we could have a renbon that has no digits on it at all, and that would be totally fine as well. Cells connected by black dots have a ratio of 2:1. All black dots are shown. All black dots are shown. Fancy. Let's see. The digit in cells with little something something. The digit in cells with little black arrows count the number of cells in the indicated direction that contain Sudoku cells, not including itself. So we have various cells coming in various directions. but this is counting the number of actual things. Yes, Eleanor, chatting ideas is welcome. Okay, so I'm guessing cells connected by black dots must have digits. It's not super explicit, but I don't know that nothing to nothing is a ratio of 2 to 1, so I'm just going to assume that all the black dot cells contain digits. But we do have a negative constraint, so all the black dots are given. Right. If nothing to nothing was considered a ratio of 2 to 1, there would be a lot more black dots in the grid. Because all black dots are given. So we know that we're going to need to have actual digits in these cells. Okay, and so, for example, we know that as soon as this digit is in, because the boxes are 3 by 3, that's also in a box. Likewise, because the boxes are 3 by 3, that's also in a box. Are we told that all arrows? I'm guessing all arrows are also cells in the thing. I'm going to guess those also have to be in, but I'm not sure. Also, Tristan may be distracted and may not actually set up the betting. I am not sure if he is listening. I don't know if I'm assuming, I think I'm going to assume that, that these things contain digits. But the rules here, so just a tip, if you're setting a J-Dyer deconstruction, you always have to be crystal clear for every clue type exactly how it interacts with cells that are not in the grid, and it will always be super obvious to you as the setter what thing you intend and what things you intend to be allowed and not allowed. But it will not be clear to someone who's solving the puzzle when they haven't gotten very far. So you should very explicitly, just like it does for the Renban, explicitly say how cells outside the regions interact with each rule. Kuraban, it's totally something I've done when writing these rules, to think like, oh yeah, I definitely... everyone will understand what I mean. That it's just one of those ones where it's, when you're setting it, it clicks and you know what you mean. It's just tricky to do otherwise. So yeah, I don't think there's anything. I think this is exactly what I'd expect. But yeah, just explicitly include a sentence for every rule about how it interacts with blank cells, and people will be happy. Okay, so we've got all of this stuff going on. So we should probably think about what we can actually say. So first of all, I know that all of these are actually in the same region. So I'm going to give that region a color. So we can actually do that. Well, I'm going to use colors as I know what things are actually in the same regions versus are not in the same regions. But there are cells that I know are in the same region and ones I don't. So this, for example, needs to grow in each direction, which means that all of these are definitely in the same box. But that could also be in the same box, so I can't color it. I do know that each of the original cells is a different color, but that's not, in my experience, a useful thing to mark when you're starting out. Let's see. So these two I know are in the same box because of the way the column works. So in the column, 2 of the boxes are orange and blue. There's only can be one more box in a column, because if you tried to put 4 boxes in a column, then you run out of space, because that would require 12 cells. So these 2 are also in their own box. But again, this cell, I don't know whether it's yellow or blue, for example. It has to be yellow or blue, but I don't know which one it is just yet. And I'm not going to mark that I know those 2 are the same. That's not enough to warrant marking. We can do things like this can only be a 1 or a 2, for example. because there's only 2 cells up here. So this is always a 1 or a 2. Let's see. Do we have any other short-ish arrows? Maybe not. This one's at most 4. Even these ones over here are actually fairly doing that. Let's see. This one is at most 5. This one's at most 3. I'm going to include that. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unfortunately, the most that this could be is 5 by both Renbon and by counting how far it can be. Yeah, I think Tristan is too distracted to open the bet thing, so I think you're going to have to make do without betting for this puzzle. This is also 1 or 2, which means that this is either 3, 6 or 4, 8. Tristan actually appeared at some point. Let's see. So there will be betting in a shortly, I believe. Okay. So 4-8 has a significant issue. And the significant issue with 4-8 is that 4 and 8 are too far apart to go on a length 4 Renbon. So this is actually 3-6, which means these have to be 4-5, and this actually has to be something. So this is green. The red lines do not need to be part of regions. That is very explicit in the rules. So to answer Nicholas's question, it has to be something because 3 and 6 are together on a Renbon, and 3 and 6 can only work if they have a 4 and a 5 between them. So I need 2 cells on the Renbon to get a 4 and a 5. That's why, which is a very cute. I like that step a lot. That's very nice. So this is some number that's at least 4. I don't think that I really want to mark it just yet. It's eventually going to be relevant that this 4-5 sees some cells, but currently it is not relevant, I do not believe. This 4 or 5, though, tells me that this isn't a 5. Because if this was a 5, I would need a 4 on the Renbon to connect to the 1, 2, 3, and that would leave this cell with no value. So this is definitely not a 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, or 4 only. I mean, this cell just is already at least 5, so I might as well fill in that it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In fact, actually, it can't possibly be a 5 because this is always going to have a cell above or below it, so this is at least 6. Okay, so this cell Carl is encouraging me to look at because it's at least 4, but it's also at most 5, it looks like. So this is either a 4 or a 5. Which actually gives me a 4-5 pair, which I'm a little sad about this 4-5 pair because this 4-5 pair ruins the argument that I thought was really cool over here. But what are you going to do? So that's not a 4 anymore. Now this Renbon definitely has a 2 on it. And there's a 4 or 5. So this digit that nominally is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can't be 4 or 5 because there's a 4 or 5 pair. And can't be 2 because there's a 2 in the row. And spoiler, it's not 1. Because if it's 1, it would say this 3x3 box only has 1 cell high. So in fact, this has to be a 3. It has no other choice. So these are a 1, 2, and this is blank. Because of that, because there's no digit that could go there. So that means that this is green and this is green because of the fact that boxes are always 3x3. So we've got that going on. This box can't go up anymore because if this box goes up, now there's actually going to be more than 3 up. So this box actually goes down. And so what I'm saying is I know that all 3 of these are in the same box, which means that whatever this box is, it goes down like that. So we've got that going on. Now, I don't... Oh, and I know what this digit is. This digit's just a 6. Oh, by the way, we didn't do a 3 dance. Let's do a 3 dance, and then we can fill in the 6. Ba-doop, ba-doo. Woo! Ba-doop, ba-doo. Woo! Ba-doop, ba-doo. Woo! Ba-doop, 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 woohoo! Ba-doop, wah-ha! Thank you, Zach. Thank you. I know this is a 6 because I know there's 3 above here, and then there's 3 more, so this is just a 6. So therefore, this black dot is not 3, 6. Oh, I guess I also know it wasn't 3, 6 from over there. This is 1, 2, 4, 8, for whatever that is worth. Welcome back, Selena. So I know that this cell's also purple. And I actually know that this cell's purple because if it wasn't purple, I couldn't fit purple in here. So actually, this is also purple, and we actually know all of purple. And purple is our first completed Sudoku box. Boop, 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 boop. And if this is the purple box, this is Nicholas's favorite deduction. These are not in anything. This 6 is on a renban of length 5 with something, so it's not a 1. There's a 1, 2 in the box, so this isn't a 1 either. So take your pick of whichever of those arguments you want. That this is not that. So one of those is a 4. Now, the key thing here, and this is really cute. Oh, no, it's not true. It's not true. I was going to say, so there has to be a 5 on this renban looking at that, but there doesn't have to be yet. There probably will be eventually, but we're not there yet. Because I don't know that there's actually going to be 5 cells on here. Let's see. This has become part of a box just by virtue of the fact that boxes are 3 by 3s. Alrighty. So row 6, Nicholas points out, actually gives us some more yellowage because we know there are 7 total cells so far, so there need to be 9 total, but those therefore are these because we've already got the 2 gray cells. So that was very cute. I liked that a lot. Okay, so that is that goes there like that. This now is a 2 by definition. By counting. So these are a 4-8 pair now. And that's gray by counting to 2. Okay, so this also is not 3, 6 because that's neither 3 nor 6. So this is still 1, 2, 4, 8. And that one's not a 2 for whatever that is worth. Probably not a lot. This has become a 1. 57 Thorns points out. And when that becomes a 1, it grays all of this. Okay. So that is quite potent in terms of what this is going to do. So this can either now go up like this or go down like this, but it doesn't have any other choices, I don't believe, because of all of these grays. Also, those grays certainly give us these grays as well, for whatever that is worth. Let's see. Okay, so these digits... I don't think I know a lot about these digits sudokologically. Hey, Danita, welcome. 6.6 mile walk. Great. So 6 is the bet number. 6 is a good bet number. 6 comes up. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is at most 5 I should fill in. And it's not 1 and it's not 4. Because of Sudoku. So this is 2, 3, or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is at most 5 as well, and it's not 1 either. In fact, oh no, I don't know that it's... I only know it's not 1 from that. Okay. So So Josh is making a smart spot that the bet tree needs to have a digit, because if the bet tree doesn't have a digit, then that cell can't have a digit either now. And so that would make this digit at most a 3, and it's not. So therefore the bet tree gets to be green, which greens that cell as well for free, for whatever that is worth. I don't quite know yet. Oh, Mr. Greg has become a new subscriber. Welcome, Mr. Greg. Mr. Grog. Mr. Grog has become a new subscriber. I think it was Grog. Welcome, Mr. Grog. Let's get you a subscriber dance. Thank you, Mr. Grog. Great to have you. Feel free to introduce yourself in chat if you are so inclined. Okay, if there's no 2 on this dot is 4, 8, which I don't love, but I don't think I can break it yet. This digit I actually know a little bit about now, because I actually can count 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is the most because of all the grays. So this digit's not more than 5. On the other hand, it's already at least 3, so it's certainly not a 1 or a 2. This is certainly a 3, 4, or a 5, in order to make that work. Likewise, this digit is at most 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This digit's at most 6, I guess. But conveniently, it sees a 3 and a 6, so it can only be 1, 2, 4, or 5 as well. However, it already sees 3 things, if you count carefully. So it can only actually be a 4 or a 5, for whatever that is worth. Let's see. Okay, so... that cell has now got me my deduction that I wanted from before, which is this cell tells me there's definitely a 5 on this Renbon, and it's definitely in row 9. Because I need to go below 6, and as soon as I go below 6, I need a 5, and I can't have a 5 on a black dot. So one of these is a 5, and therefore that's a 4, and that's a 5, and that's a 4. And now, if that's a 4, I certainly am not putting a 2 or a 3 on this Renbon, so that actually is a 5. And if that's a 5, it actually greens all of this. So that is not a 5. And if all of that is green, that certainly tells me that that's green. That might be my only free point. Why not row 8, column 8? Oh, right. Sorry. Sorry, I got one step ahead of myself. That can be a 4. Sorry, that can be a 4. So we still get the big part of this, but we don't get that giant. Okay, so maybe we don't get the big part of it. But we got my 4, 5 deduction. That's all I really wanted. Okay. We got the part I cared about. Okay. Hey, Jobo, welcome. Hope you're doing well. I tried to destroy the puzzle. Just usual Zeta stuff. Okay, so these digits left are 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to go ahead and mark just for sanity. And that one's not an 8. Okay, this is... this has become 3, 6. And also, chat has reminded me that there's a negative constraint on black dots, which I admit I had completely forgotten, so thank you, chat. But this doesn't have a 4 on it, so it's either 1, 2, or 3, 6, but it's got a 1, 2 in orange, so this is always 3, 6. But the negative constraint tells me that can't be an 8 because 8 can't go next to 4. This can't be a 6 because 6 can't go next to 3. It would require a black dot. This can't be a 2 because 2 can't go next to 4, so that is actually a 1, and that's actually a 2. In order to make that work. This is at least a 5, right? 4 or 5. Yeah, this is at least a 5. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it's not 6 because of that. Orange is done, chat points out, because as soon as this is a 2, I need this to be green. But as soon as this is green, it is going to become orange. And so therefore all of this is going to be orange. Let's see, Sarah is concerned I did something wrong. Box 1 is colorable now. Uh-oh. Kuraban said I did something wrong. Oh, Kuraban is pointing, so there's not an actual negative constraint. Oh no. The rule set is outdated. Oh, okay. So I should just pretend there's not a negative constraint, and then it will solve. Is that there is no negative constraint? Okay. Okay, so there's not an actual negative constraint. Okay, so that means I have to put back some of the digits there. Okay. Is there anything I have not... Oh, okay. I have to rewind. Okay, we have to rewind quite a bit. Because we definitely used the negative constraint. So I think this is the spot where I remembered there was a negative constraint, and then started using it. This is still 3/6, but this no longer is not 2, because I noted that it couldn't be 2 because of the negative constraint. But we can't use the negative constraint. Okay. Okay. So I don't think I remembered there was a negative constraint before then, so I don't think I can have screwed it up by using the negative constraint before then. The 3/6 does look down column 2, making this a 5. I believe that. So now I think that forces both of these to be green. Yes, both of these now have to be green because of that. Okay. So we've got all of that going on. There is only one more gray cell in this row because we, again, can't have only 2 boxes. So by Nicholas's point earlier, we need to be careful because if this was gray, that would be gray too. That's not going to work. So this is definitely green. And if this was gray, we'd have a huge problem as well because if this was gray, this just wouldn't work at all. So that's green. And so the gray one is one of these 2. We don't know which one yet, I don't think. But we've got some more extra juiciness going on. Okay. So all of that is working out. Let's see. Row 5, column 8 is definitely gray. Yes, because there's not space between something and something for that to work. Can certainly drop that there. Let's see. Okay. So this is at least a 2. So either that's green, or there's some green over here, in which case this is going to have to come down. So probably this comes over here. Row 3, column 9 is mismarked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think it is. I think it's at most 6, but I think it's not 6 anymore. I think this has become 5. And so that has now made it so that this cell is gray. Okay. Yep, so row 11, column 1 is now gray. I agree. Won't row 7, column 7 always be green? I don't know that I know that. Danita has become a turbine. Welcome, Danita. Let's get you a big turbine dance. Ba-boop-ba-doo. Woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo. Woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo. Woohoo! Waha! Wee! Woohoo! Thank you, Danita. Thank you so much. Welcome. I always appreciate your support and company here. Great to have you. Okay. I think people are saying this couldn't be 3. If this was 3, let's see. Yeah, if this was 3, I would need some of these. But the thing is, these 3 cells come together because of this cloister. So I either get 3 or 0 here. And if I get 3, it means this has to be a 5. So this is actually never a 3. Okay, so a lot of people in chat were trying to get me to see that, which I eventually saw. Okay. There's something down here. The fact that one of these 2 is green has to tell me something, but I don't know. Ooh, and Danita has gifted memberships to 5 people. Let's see who gets the memberships. Let's see. Sayori has gotten a membership. Thomas has gotten a membership. Paulfly has gotten a membership. Liz has gotten a membership. And Jaleb has gotten a membership. Welcome to all the new members, and thank you again so much, Danita. Let's get you a dance. Do 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 woohoo! Do 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 woohoo! Do 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 woohoo! Woohoo! Thank you, Danita. Thank you, Zach. Much appreciated. Enjoy your memberships and access to your fancy Zach emotes that you now have, as well as Quackers emotes. Let's not forget Quackers is in there too. Tallcat would be very disappointed. We forgot about Quackers. All right. So row 7, column 7, a lot of people want me to look at. Right. This has to be green because of this same deal. Like, this is 1 plus 0 or 3. Neither 1 plus 0 nor 1 plus 3 is equal to 2 or 5. So this is always green. That's the point. And so as soon as this is green, because that's a gray above it, and that's a purple to its left, that actually gives us a whole box of green that can now get a color. Let's see. We will make it, let's see. We will make it royal purple to go next to the other purple box. Okay, and so that also forces this box, which we can make into Simon's sweater, green. So we have gray here. There's no room for a region here anymore because of that. This has become green by sort of getting pushed away from this. This has become gray because there's no room for a thing between here, which now means this is forced. So this has now become forced to be, let's see, what do we want to be? We could be sea breeze. That sounds nice. So there is our sea breeze box. This is also forced. This is now forced to just be blue. So blue now looks like this. This very often happens. It's very difficult when setting these puzzles to not have it just sort of collapse all at once like this with all of this. So these are gray, which now has forced yellow to look like this. And now this is just a 1. So now that's a 2. And now that that's a 2, that forces orange. So now orange is done. Let's see. So that is now done. I'm going to go ahead and put a border around the ring. Oops, maybe, possibly. Ah, not like that. No, not like that. You know what I meant. Okay. These are now certainly nothing. This is now certainly nothing. This is now certainly green. These are now certainly green. This now... Oh, no, that's still not quite set up. So let's see. Eleanor's telling me look at row 8, column 4. Okay, yeah, Eleanor was telling me about what happened with blue. We get this lovely little windmill design here. I like this confluence of 4 boxes that sort of have this lovely little windmill shape right around that. Um, 2 grays in row 2 doesn't mean anything, Nicholas, because we don't know there's 3 boxes in row 2 as of yet. Let's see. This is... okay, this is a minimum of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a minimum of 5 and also a maximum of 5 because it can't be 6. So this is a 5, which means that this is gray, which means that these two are gray. Okay, so we've got that. Let's see. People are telling me about other things I could count, I believe. This one's now countable, I think, because I think this is now just 1, 2, 3. This just is a 3 now. Let's see. This one I still don't know if it's a 2 or a 5 yet. Yes. Now this can't go up because now that I have this extra gray here, now if this goes up, now I have to fit 3 boxes and I only have enough spaces. So this, I only have enough spaces for 2. So this now goes down. Thank you, chat. So we have this box, and this box can become, let's see, it can join the row of different shades of purple and become carnival cake. Always have to have a carnival cake box. Although I have to re-carnival cake my hair. It is becoming less carnival cake than it was. Let's see. Let's see. This one here is from 248 only because there's a 3 and a 1. So this is from 248 and always contains a 4 for whatever it's worth. So this one's not 4, but also I can just count that it's 3 if you would prefer. Let's see. This just is a 6 now. Your least favorite part of J-Dire deconstructions, the Sudoku part. The Sudoku part can be either really elegant or really, really excruciating, depending depending on how generous or ungenerous the setter is with clues. I think my J-Dire deconstruction, the cluing is not super generous, so I can only judge so much. This is a 7, 8, or 9. Which is fine. Certainly not a 9, because a 9 would require these be a 7, 8 pair, and there's not enough room for that. So this is a 7 or an 8. And if this is an 8, then that's a 7. Let's see. This is now a 5. Let's see. We've got that. Let's see. There's definitely a 5 in one of these 2 cells over here for whatever works. Michael found a Zach wing on 6s. Let me find Michael's Zach wing on 6s. In royal purple, let's see. No 6 there, no 6 there. So 6 in royal purple is in one of these cells, which is notable because it aligns with one of these 6s. And so that's what we call a Zach wing, because that eats both 6s in row 7 and 8. So none of these cells are 6. Those 2 aren't 6. But yet I need a 6 in this box. It has to go there. Good spot to Michael. There. So that's now a 7, 8, 9 triple, actually. Well, that was generous. So these are from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now that's particularly nice because, well, none of them are 4 because there's a 4 in the box. But these aren't 3, 5, or 6 either. So those are a 1, 2 pair. So these aren't 1, 2 either. That one's not 3, actually. So these are a 3, 5, 6 triple of some description. This column has 7, 8, and 9 left to place, if I counted that correctly, which means that this box's 2 is here. 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah, the box's 2 is there. I at least know. This box's actually got 1, 7, 8, 9 left, but it's also got a 1 and a 4 left. In this column, which does absolutely nothing. Eleanor points out row 6, column 3 has a 4 that is relevant. Oh, right. The 4, Eleanor is noticing, finishes the region and tells me that can't go there. So this becomes green. And to honor green's contributions to the puzzle, we're going to let the last box be true green. So we now have our last box filled in. So this is a 4 or a 6, but it's not a 6 because there's a 6 in the box, so it's a 4. For whatever that is worth. We know actually there's a 4 in one of these two cells just by Sudoku, because the 4 looks down here, and looks across here. So one of these is a 4. Oh, and it's not that one, actually, because there's a 4 there. So actually the 4 is just outright placed there. That 4-8, by the way, tells me that's not an 8 while I'm looking at things that tell me things from pencil marks or something. What's left over here is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I'm going to just fill those in just in case it becomes relevant that that's what's left here. These are either all low or all high, but I don't think I know enough yet to know. I do know that 6 in this box is in one of those two cells for whatever that is worth. This Renbon needs a 5 in order to connect the 3 to the 6, and that 5 can only go here. So I'll take that, which is going to place the 5 in this box there. Which is going to place the 5 in this box over here. Oops. Placing a second 5 in the box and the row, as we all know that it needs. Okay, so now chat is pointing out if I know that there's a 5, I should also know there's a 4, and the 4 can't go here because of that 4 camouflaged cleverly in royal purple. So that is a 4. Some people might point out that ideally you would not use colors that camouflage digits, but what can you do? Only so much you can do. So that's a 1 or an 8, so that's a 2 or a 4. Okay. These digits all need to be less than 5 because they can't all be bigger than 5. So these are actually a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple is the point. Because of that 5 and that 6. So that makes that an 8 because of the quad. And makes these a 7 and a 9. Let's see. This seems not to be a 3. This seems not to be a 2 or a 4. As we're filling in those things. Oh, this seems to be a 4 while I'm noting things. So these aren't 4. Let's see. So that's a 179 triple for whatever minuscule amount that's worth. So if I fill in all of the options, this isn't a 5 or a 6, and it's not a 1, 7, or 9 either. Let's see. This one's not a 2 or a 3. This one's not a 3. Okay, this one's not an 8. This cell now is not 7 or 9 because there's a 7-9 pair in the row. So if I mark out what this can be, this is not 4, 5, or 8, and it's not 7 or 9. So this is only, and it's not 1 because there's a 1 in the box. So this is only 2, 3, or 6 for whatever it is worth. Let's see here. So now this is a 5, 7, or an 8 just because of Renbon stuff. 5, 7, or 8. The green 5 is placed because you can't place the green 5 on this Renbon because the 4 and 6 are already spoken for. And there's a 5 there. So in fact, this is a 5. Carl points out, which makes that a 7. Makes that a 9 and a 7. I shouldn't say this too early, but I feel like this has been a very merciful J-Dire deconstruction Sudoku finish so far. So that is an 8, which makes these a 2, 4 pair. Makes these a nice triple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9 is what's left there. That's not an 8. This has become a 7 and a 9 over there. So that has become a 7 while we are 7ing. We found the green 5. That's right, the green 5 for Casey. Kuraban's emoji suggests to me that this is about to get tighter than I feared. Okay, so there's a 1 over here. Or sorry, there's not a 1 there because of the 1-9 pair. Let's see. So I know one of these two's a 4. Let's see. I can just fill in what this triple is. That's probably a good idea. These are 1, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And that one's not the 4, so we'll do that. Nicholas has spotted this 3-6 pair looking at that 6 corner mark. So this 6 corner mark now is in a row. So that sorts out that 3 and that 6 and that 3. Good spot to Nicholas. Let's see. Okay, so in this column, we've got the 1, the 2, we've got the 3, we've got the 4, we've got the 5, we've got the 6. So it's just 7, 8, and 9 left. That one has to be the 9. So this is a 7 or an 8, but that's an 8. So this is a 7. And so that's an 8 by Renboniness. So that's a 4 and a 2. And now a 4 and 2 are here. This had better be an 8. 6 is not on the Renbon. So these are 7 and 9. And I know the order. So that's a 4 and a 2. That's a 1 and a 2. That's a 1 and a 9 and a 4. Let's see. We've got a triple left over here to fill in, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's a 1, a 6, and a 3. 2 and 3 and 1. 7 over there. So no 7 there. Let's see. Oh, this is not a 3 at least. What is this triple? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this is 2, 6, or 8. But anyway, the fact that it's 2, 6, 8, actually that is the 8, but that looks up and gives me that that's the 9, and that's not a 7 either by the box, so it's a 6, which makes that a 6, which makes that a 2, and that a 6. But I'll write 3 in just to give Chad a heart attack. 3, 4, 5, 6, so this can only be a 7 or a 2. Flabbergastingly, it can still be either of them. Let's see. For the box, we've still got a 1, 2, 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a 9, I believe. So 1, 2, 7, and 9 are left. This one's not a 2 or a 7. This one's not a 1 or a 9. So those are a 2, 7 pair. Those are a 1, 9 pair. I don't think I know anything until I come up here. There's not actually a negative constraint. The negative constraint was removed, but not removed from the instructions, is what has happened. This is a naked single. It's a 1, making that a 9 and a 1 and a 9 and a 1. So this is, well, where is 7 going in column 5 is the easiest way to do it. So that's a 2 and a 7. And so now this is a naked single something. It's a 2. And now the bet tree is a 3. So congratulations to all the 3 bettors out there. May all your betting tree wishes come true. Rules issues aside, this was really smooth from start to finish. This is a beautiful puzzle. I would absolutely recommend posting this once you have sort of edited the rules a tiny bit. But really, really nice work there with this puzzle. Alrighty, very cool. I do enjoy the idea of a J. Dyer deconstruction with a negative constraint, but so Eleanor, sometimes I pick the bet tree to be the last filled in digit by pure luck. Sometimes I do it by sheer stubbornness, by just refusing to fill in the bet tree, even when it would be the natural thing to do. And sometimes, and this is what happened in this case, the setter actually gave me the bet tree that they recommended. So in this case, I did it because the setter knew which cell I was likely to fill in last. And Kelly has become a windmill, so let's get Kelly a windmill dance. Ba-boop-ba-doo, woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo, woo! Ba-doop-ba-doo, woohoo! Waha! Wee-hee! Woohoo! Da-da-ba-da. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you everyone for hanging out today. Today's stream has been a lot of fun, and we are officially finished with Stream 200 puzzles. So that means next puzzle, for all of you people with windmill privileges, you can vote, because we'll start the next stream with the most voted on puzzle. But we're not done with stream yet today. I'm going to finish off stream by doing some 6x6s, because we haven't done 6x6s in a bit. And so we are going to do some 6x6s. But before we do some 6x6s, I am going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back with some 6x6s, which I suspect, looking at the bucket, will probably involve Nabners. So I'll be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back. So I've been playing a lot lately. If you have seen recent things that I have published on LMD or that have appeared for me on Cracking the Cryptic, I've been playing around a lot with Nabner lines. And all a Nabner line is it's a line where no pair of digits on the line are either the same or consecutive. So it's a play on the fact that it's Renban backwards. That was just what I called it when I was going to make a one-off puzzle with it, and then it sort of became what I just called it in subsequent puzzles. Anyway, a thing that is sort of not great about Nabner lines is that they can't be very long, because at absolute most you have a 5 long Nabner line, but the only 5 long Nabner line is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. This isn't a 9x9, by the way, that I'm talking about. I'll get to the story of how this relates to the 6x6 in a second. But any longer than that, and it's just impossible because there aren't that many digits. Anyway, I was talking about this on stream, and JC Godart suggested what you could do is you could have Nabner lines where the distance that a particular cell sees along the line is only appropriate. So in this case, what we're saying is every length 3 bit of this is a Nabner line. But it's not the case that there aren't any consecutive or repeated digits on this, because that would mean there were 12 digits. But every string of 3 digits is. So JC Godart has called that Nabner chunks, which I think is a smart way to think about it. So it sort of becomes like a weird entropic-y, whispery sort of thing in a way. Yeah, it's sort of similar to what's called run-on Renbans, which I've done a few puzzles of on stream before, which are sort of like Renbans where sort of you get chunks that are extended in a similar way. So neuron Nabners, if you say run on Renban backwards. Let's see. Dorlier asked what my favorite puzzle of the 200 stream was. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and look and see I'll look back and see if there is an obvious answer to that. I suspect multiple of them will appear on the puzzle of the year list that I do at the end of if you're not familiar, at the end of each year, at least for 2 years now so far, at the end of each year I have made a my brain won't know. I've made a list of my favorite puzzles of the year that's been around 20, so I do like 1,000-ish puzzles a year, so top 20 seems reasonable, somewhere in that vicinity. So I suspect multiple of these puzzles will make an appearance on that list. I'm just looking back to see if I can think about like which one I think is going to be like my favorite of favorites. Also bear in mind that some of them I didn't do because I was sick, and so Tristan and Tallcat did some of them. So I watched Tristan and Tallcat do them, but did not actually get to do them myself. So you can keep that in mind. But yeah, people in chat. Why don't people in chat say what their favorite ones are? If you remember any of them, several people in chat are doing that. Yeah, you can go back and look actually if Tristan wants to put links to my previous 2 puzzles of the year lists. Especially the most recent one. Tristan put a ton of work into making the puzzle of the year list, and it includes like videos of me solving them and guests commenting on them and all those sorts of things. So it's a very fun video to watch, I think. Let's see. Okay, so I think my answer for the one that most stands out to me is for its purpose was this puzzle by M Nasty, which for whatever reason is rendering poorly suddenly. Why it is rendering poorly, I do not know. The cage totals suddenly this is got to be a Sudoku pad bug or something. But anyway, the reason I so enjoyed this and why it so stood out is that it started with normal address book ambiguity, Nabner, and 10 lines rules apply. So it was just it was a really pleasing tribute to, I mean, things I have done. So obviously my ego, at least I think most people who set for ego in some way or another. I'm certainly not going to deny it, but it was really cool to see all of these things referenced back. And especially like a lot of these are really deep cuts. Like the ambiguity puzzle is like the 5th puzzle I ever set or something like that. So like some of these are getting to be ancient. So anyway, I really enjoyed the references and the play on them. Also, if you go back to and you'll see this if you watch the puzzles of the year list, if you go back to my first setting challenge, and yes, there will be setting challenges again, I promise. If you go back to my first setting challenge was to set puzzles with no 5s, because I had a thing against 5s until Casey came around and showed us all that 5s are numbers too and have their own value. That's all like part of the deep lore. But then for stream 100, M Nasty set a puzzle that had a version of doublers, except the version of doublers was what M Nasty dubbed 5ers, that made every digit that was modified by them into a 5. And it was hilarious, and is probably the funniest puzzle I have ever done because of every not only was the idea and the funny and the rules were worded in a funny way, but also each of the deductions was funny. At some point, I recall Garion in chat asking, where is the digit 5 in the grid? And so we had to identify that there was only one box in which 5 could be 5'd. Anyway, long story short, taking a quick glance at it, this is the one that jumped out to me to answer JC Godart's point. But anyway, yeah. M Nasty does not come out with many puzzles, but M Nasty puzzles tend to be very memorable. Would be my statement. All right, JC Godart, Nabner chunks. Okay. So we have. I mean, granted, it was 15 minutes ago. I explained what the rules are of the golden line. But we explained what the digits are of the golden line. This digit's odd, so it's 1, 3, or 5. This digit's even, so it's 2, 4, or 6. These two digits add to 5, so they're 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay. So how are we going to start by comprehending what has to be the case for this? So the line is entropic. That's true. So funnily enough, I originally thought, oh, Garion misunderstood what the rules meant. But no, Garion's completely right. The line has to be entropic. And so what does that mean? It means that every string of 3 digits has 1 of 1, 2, 1 of 3, 4, and 1 of 5, 6. And that's because obviously you can't have 2 of 1, 2, 2 of 3, 4, or 2 of 5, 6. Because if you did, then that would be a very big problem for purposes of your thing. So we can actually, weirdly enough, do the entropic coloring along this line like that. So we have these various entropy things. And so now, one thing I know is that these digits aren't 5. Because if any one of these digits was a 5, the only way to make a digit a 1, or the only way to make a length 3 Nabner with a 5 is 135, which would break this cell. So none of these are 5, and by exactly the same argument, none of these are 5. So there's a 5 in one of these cells, and there's a 5 in one of these cells. I'm trying to decide if that buys me absolutely anything. Like, I don't think it's a problem if that's not a 5 because of that. But anyway, none of these are 5. That's the thing I know right away. Not 5. So I guess that tells me one of the things is that one of these digits is a 6, because if I don't have a 5, that means I must have a 6. So these cells are all not 6 for whatever that is worth. Okay. Smart spot from several people in chat about what's going on in row 3, actually. A V actually always involves things of 2 different entropies, a 1, 2, and a 3, 4. But it involves no yellows. And therefore yellow is high, and therefore this is a 6 and that's a 5. Because we said there wasn't a 5 here. So these aren't 6. So that is cool, I think. Okay, so this is also a 6 for the same reason. So that's also a 5. So these are not 6. One of these two is a 5. Let us mark. So this is a 5 as well. Just by Sudoku. Where else is the 5 going to go? Nowhere else. This is not a 5. Let's see. Yeah, Jay Dyer, Michael, to that point, Jay Dyer was setting with Nabner and was like, what I figured out was that Nabner isn't really a Renbon variant at all. Nabner is really a Whisper variant, which is, I think, completely correct. But Entropy is also a Whisper variant, and so I think they end up having a very similar sort of style to them in terms of what they can do. Let's see. How many 6s do we have? The 6s here. Garion is telling me. I believe Garion. Let's see. Do I have more 5s that I can place? Yes, because I can place that 5 for sure. Let's see. So then I think I've got a little X-wing on 5s left, right? Or a little Z-wing on 5s, because I don't think I know which of these is a 5 yet. Okay. So these are not a 2-4 pair, is the thing that I am noticing. And so therefore one of them is a 1 or a 3. For whatever on earth that means. Now, in the same way that we did with 5s having this weird trait, it's worth noting 2s also have this weird trait that as soon as you put a 2 inside a Nabner, you force the entire thing to be 2, 4, 6. But I don't see anywhere where that's a problem for them to be 2, 4, 6. So if either of these was a 2, these would be a 2, 4, 6 triple. That's what I'm saying. But I don't think that's a problem. In fact, it seems like sort of the opposite of a problem, if I'm being honest. Let's see. There's a smart spot that these aren't 4. So one of each of these is a 3. Thank you, Carl, from what you're saying. And so in fact, these are a 1-3 pair. In fact, what I said was as soon as there's a 5, then they're a 1-3 pair. And so like literally what I said, if I just filled it in, it would have told me that these were a 1-3, 5. But well, I mean, it turns out that often I'm not listening to myself when I talk, apparently. So these are 2, 4, 6. For whatever that is worth. Row 1, column 2 now can't be a 2, Martin points out, because it's next to a 1 or a 3. And likewise, this can't be a 2 because it's next to a 1 or a 3. So we've got those bits. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to look to see if there's any places where I know the reds involved are the same or are not the same, but Oh, no, this can't be a 2 now. Because if this is a 2, now that has to be a 4, and that breaks that cell. That's the point. So this isn't a 2 either. So actually, there's no 2s on the line, I guess. So we've got that. So that's cool, I suppose. Oh, sorry. That one can't be a 2 either. I didn't actually remove it, even though the argument applied directly. That's not a 2 either. So the 2 in this row is in one of these 2 spots. Does that help me? I do not know. These 2 I know are literally the same digit. So let me mark that I know that those 2 are literally the same digit with ketchup. Let's see. If this was a 4, it would make this a 1. Which seems okay. Would also make that a 1. Yeah, one of these is... Okay, so Garian's pointing out these aren't a 3-4 pair. So there definitely is a 1 in them. So these are definitely not 1. Which is a smart spot from Garian. And probably I can apply that here as well. One of these has to be a 1, so that's not a 1 for sure. Oh, also it seems that in this column, the 2's only allowed to live in one of those 2 cells, so therefore that's never a 2. Carl making a spot that with the green 1-3, we can actually green 1-3 Sudoku our way over here. This is the only place that can be green 1-3 in this box. Cool. So there's not a green 1, 3 here. So there is a green 2, 4 on here. So there's a green 2, 4 and a purple 1, 3 on here. And therefore, this is the purple 2, 4, is the point. So therefore, this is a green something. I don't know what. Wait, I did that wrong. This is the green 2, 4. Sorry, I did that wrong. Sorry. There is a green 2, 4 on here, so there's not a... Wait, no, I did that right? No, I think I was right. There is a green 2, 4, so there's not a purple 2, 4, because otherwise it would add to 6. I think I was actually correct in this instance. So the rare instance of Zeta correctness. Green 2, 4. Okay, so this is the purple 2, 4. One of these two is the purple 2, 4, right? This being a 4 is a problem, and I think this is what Chad has maybe been trying to tell me. This being a 4 is not possible because it's too close to a 5. This is within 3 of a 5, so that's not allowed to be a 4 just by regular old-fashioned Nabnericity. So that is a purple 1 or 3, which means this is the purple 1 or 3, which means this is the green 2 or 4, which means that this is the purple 2 or 4. Same with row 1, column 2, Carl points out. I don't know if chat was saying that. I did not notice, but I missed that for a long time, and I think probably some people in chat noticed it. That we've got that. So this is a green 2, 4. Over down here. This is a green 2, 4 here. Oops. Just to finish off the box, which means this is a green 2, 4 up here. Which means one of these is a purple 2, 4, and the only one that can be a purple 2, 4 is that one. So this is a purple 2, 4, and so it's a 4. That's adorable. That's a great use of an elven square, by the way. So those are 4. And so these are 3. That's a 4 and a 1. That doesn't sound good. And a 3 and a 2. And a 2 and a 1 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 and a 2. And a 2 over here. And so this is a yellow 6 or a blue 6. Take your pick. This is a yellow 5. This is a purple 3. This is a purple 4. This is a green 1. Green 1, not a green gray, please. This is a green 2. This is a yellow 6. So this is a purple 4. This is a green 2. This is a yellow 6. This is a purple 4. We have confetti around here about half the time to accommodate the people who both enjoy and do not enjoy the confetti. So that way everyone is equally unhappy. So we have a purple 3 here to finish off the puzzle. Very nice puzzle, JC. I enjoyed that, and I look forward to, I'm sure, seeing this in 9x9s, although in 9x9s it's going to work out very differently because you have an extra degree of freedom in 9x9s when you have Nabners. But this was very cool, and I liked the way the fives played into this story. By the way, if you are a supporter of the stream, you should have access to the Zetamath Discord, the Zetamath exclusive Discord, if you do not message Tristan, and he will figure out what is going on, because sometimes there are weird things with Patreon. But anyway, there I post 6x6s when I make them. Usually I make 6x6s with the intention of submitting them to Rank's adventure series, and then usually they are too hard, so then I just post them in the Zetamath exclusive Discord. If you want to see a 6x6 Nabner puzzle, I have posted one there, I believe. Although actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the 6x6 Nabner puzzle that I made that was based on this whole idea with 2s and 5s that was also present in this puzzle, I just turned it into Cascade, which I will say for me, my favorite of my new Nabner puzzles is Cascade. So if you want a challenging Nabner puzzle, that one I will recommend. But all right, I am going to wrap up there for today. So thank you very much to everyone for hanging out. I know it's been a bit since I've gotten to stream, so I've been delighted to see having a whole bunch of people around today. So great. I was a little worried that everyone would have forgotten. Will there be more Nabner shenanigans soon? There might be. I admit I have only not set a puzzle recently because I was sick and then catching up on school and whatever. I fully intend to set a puzzle soon. I don't know if I set the puzzle that is literally in my head right now, it will be a 10 Lines Whisper puzzle. But I have thought of doing a 10 Lines Whisper puzzle and started it a lot of times. I have never published a 10 Lines Whisper puzzle before, so I would not hold your breath that this one works out. But it is a natural combination that I want to make work. So maybe that will be the next thing we will see. Alrighty, but yes, thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who supports the stream. If you want to support the stream, one way to do that is to click the join button down below. It's greatly appreciated. And yeah, thank you, Danita. I'm feeling much better now. But it's the whole thing where you're sick for a week and then now you're a week behind everything, and so then you're busy for a week. But I'm now at the end of the busy for a week, and so now I think things are back to quote unquote normal. So we'll see how it goes from there. But anyway, thank you so much to everyone who supports the stream. Thank you to the lovely turbines in particular, so the people who generously give at the top level. So David, Nordy, Franco, Woofer, DDX, Daniel, Willie, Danita, and Nell. Thank you so much. Thank you to new supporter Kelly, new and old turbine Danita. Welcome. Thank you so much. Great to have you all. Thank you to our new subscribers today, and I'll see you all real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.